Oh, all about that.
I know, I forgot about it too. Hi guys, welcome to another production meeting. It has been literally almost a month, but there's a good reason for that because one of us took a vacation, one of us got married, and had a honeymoon. I was just lazy, so.
And
Wait,
I
you
was
guys-
over there.
You guys weren't here. I showed up every week, sitting here waiting on this call. Talked to myself for an hour and a half. No one recorded it.
Oh, that was you? Okay.
Yeah, man. Jesus.
My
Nah,
bad.
for real though. Yeah, we definitely had some needed time off, although a lot of us, I think, slacked off. Well, half of us slacked off on our movie watching. And but you know, we all got some vacation or some nice R&R, and some of us had some life-changing moments that took place. So it was good. It was good. And now we're back.
Yay!
Yay!
I know. I finished my semester of school, and I was like, I don't want to watch anything.
Well, you didn't miss much.
You're like, what do you do during summer break? Do you go home and do more homework? No, you do everything else.
Exactly. But yeah, so you guys want to like? We're just gonna go through like a little bit of news and some rapid fire, and just like catch up on the movies that some of us watched, some of us didn't watch, some of us don't care about. Jungle Cruise. But so quickly, there was some major things that happened this past month. First off, let's go through the trailers. We did get a trailer for Spider-Man 2 days ago. Did you guys watch it? Somebody watched it.
It's glorious.
The short film, the opening to the film.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, here's a 3-minute teaser. Okay, so I'm gonna see some Nope, 3 minutes, and literally we're gonna show you the first 25 minutes of this film. Enjoy, but we're not gonna show you any of the stuff you really care about, which I appreciate. The setup was nice, but I'm one of those trailer guys that doesn't watch, but I caved on this mainly because I'm excited, but I'm not like super over the moon excited. I mean, Spider-Man's okay to me. He's not like my favorite character, so I just needed to know. And I got some info, not quite the info that I wanted. They saved some of the super spoiler stuff, I think, which is good. And hopefully this
Until
is
the third
last
trailer.
No, hopefully this is the last trailer they put out, which it won't be, but hopefully it will be.
Yes, there was a lot of mind-melting Easter egging in this.
Right.
There were right in your face with Alfred Molina. Confirmed that. I mean, we already knew it was confirmed, but like now we have visual proof. But there's also like I missed it the first time I watched it, the Goblin bomb or orb, and I was like, because I guess I looked away. Somebody was getting my attention, and I was like, I missed that part, and then I looked back and I was like, what? And then like there's hints of Electrode being in it.
Sandman.
Lizard. Sandman, thank you. Sandman, and then was it the Lizard Man?
Possibly,
yeah.
Yes. So I'm like, this was dope. I'm not. It's hard not to get hyped because it was really good, but I did laugh and think the same thing. This is a teaser. It's almost the entire movie right here.
Yeah.
Not a teaser.
I think personally my biggest takeaway from it, or like the most entertaining part, because I mean all that stuff was cool, but I thought it was interesting the turn that Doctor Strange seems to have, how very chill and relaxed he is right now, and how laissez-faire he is with everything. And it's just, oh, okay, so I guess you're just cool now, you're just chilling. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, literally.
Snow.
He still hasn't fixed his house yet.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think it bears the question. Do you think that they showed Alfred Molina because he pretty much spoiled like him being in the movie?
I think they needed like one. They felt like they didn't need this, but I think they felt like they needed one actual hook at the end to like sink people who weren't invested, as if people were just, maybe I won't go see the new Spider-Man movie.
And out of all like the possible spoilers things that could be in this movie, I think he's probably the one that's been out the most, or we've been most aware and most vocal for. So it's kind of like, and this kind of just gives us, the audience, that confirmation that's like, oh, so this is where we're going. Anything could happen in this movie.
Right.
Yeah, just it's let your mind race on what the possibilities and how these multiverse madness things are going to come into fruition. So I'm dope.
Cool.
I'm down for this. This is so good of a trailer. But I don't want any more. If there's another one that comes out, I'm not watching it. I'm not watching it.
So speaking of Marvel, who pays our paychecks, apparently, we got the
You guys are
Eternals
getting
trailer.
paid?
You weren't here last week. You guys are getting paid. We got the Eternals trailer, or Eternals trailer, not the. Anyway, I thought it looked dope. Like I'm a little bit more excited for this than I am for Spider-Man because I kind of expected this from Spider-Man, but I didn't expect this from Eternals. So I'm kind
I
of
agree.
excited for this.
So I guess me not watching movies meant I was going to watch every trailer this week. So I actually did watch this one too. I was excited because I actually enjoyed getting to know a little bit more because I'm not a huge fan of the Eternals. I don't know what's going on, so knowing where this takes place and how this is taking place made it more interesting to me. I don't know if it was the phone I was looking. I think I watched it on my phone. It looked really glossy to me, and I was not a huge fan of some of those CGI elements. I thought it was a little over the top, and I thought it looked a little bad on the YouTube video that I saw. Now, maybe it'll look better on the big screen, and I'm sure they're still working on it. But yeah, that's the only thing I was concerned about was some of those effects. So,
right. What do you guys think?
I didn't see it.
Boo.
I liked it. I mean, I see what you mean about the effects. Ever since Aladdin, I've kind of put out of my mind nitpicking effects because I remember when that came out, everybody was like, "It looks terrible," and then it came out, and we were like, "Oh, I guess it was fine." It just
it
looked
did look
bad in the
terrible.
trailer for some reason.
Yeah.
And they said they like touched it up, and it looks the same but good.
Yeah, it just looks super. It literally. I hate to use the term glossy or new. It just looks super glossy and super new, and I think they just need to weather down some, and maybe, like I said, they probably just aren't finished.
Yeah.
When they start getting it on the big screen and start touching everything.
I'm looking forward to it. I think the first trailer kind of gave us an indication of not much, not to be negative about it, but this kind of gives us more about the story, and I like the idea that it's not just like, here's your group, you're stuck with this group for the movie, that they're kind of all they've been kind of spread out everywhere, and you get to kind of meet them as you go, and that's a little bit more of a typical group setup in the first place, but it works very well. So I'm excited about that, and that's, other than some of the bigger world building elements, that's pretty much all we got, I think. But I'm very much looking forward to it. It's new. It feels new.
Yeah. So one last trailer, we got the Venom Let There Be Carnage trailer, which looks ridiculous still. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, they still made it, and they still made it fast, and people are still clamoring for it somewhere, I guess.
Which is going to be pushed to January anyway, so I don't know why we're talking. Where it belongs. All right. One last bit of news, a little bit of major news that I wanted to go over. Just kind of wanted your guys' opinion about this. So we all know that Black Widow came out, and it did well its first weekend, and then nosedived apparently on its second weekend. It was almost like an 80, was it like an 85 drop off?
I think it was like 70, 71%, I think, box office drop.
Yeah, so that's bad. And so because of the drop off, apparently Scarlett Johansson decided to sue Disney. I don't know if it was because of the drop off, but she decided to sue Disney because of for breach of contract. So from my understanding is that her contract was based on performance at the box office, and she is stating that because Disney day and dated it, and that they were able to pay premium on Disney Plus, that they lost off on the box office gains of the movie. So Disney's now fighting back, and this is where I kind of wanted your guys' opinion. I see both sides of this. Like, I understand her point of view. Like, this is she signed a contract. You guys said that this is where you're going to pay me. And I kind of understand why, because you and all four of us have kind of talked about this on this podcast before, is that kind of wondering why Kevin Feige was so hard up on pushing these into the theaters and pushing these back and pushing these back. Now I kind of get it, because probably most of his actors are under contract like this. So I see like Disney's point. Like there was a pandemic, we had to get this out, stuff. We needed to make money on it. We can't just have this sit on the shelf. My only thing is that where Disney kind of screwed themselves is they started to put her business out there, like how much she actually made for this movie, and then started to slam her for like stuff. And this is where I side with Scarlett Johansson, because it's like she's a major cog in this MCU. Dead or alive, she like her character is a major cog in this. So, and if you guys have, I'm a huge comic book nerd. You all know that. So in comic books, they pop up flashbacks, multiverse, all this other stuff that they're now diving into. So her potential of coming back was probably pretty high until this moment. So why are we pissing off like our major stars? Like, why do we want to do that?
Because they replaced her with a better, more talented actress.
Okay. All right. There's one.
I'm just kidding. No. You're completely right. If this is the case, Disney kind of screwed her on this deal, but at the same point, they have to move forward as well. I'm not sure, the details, and we'll never know the true details for both of this. Who's to say she's not mad because other people that she knows in these franchises are making more money than she is? Who's to say that Disney didn't try to work something out? You never know. I will say this, though. I mean, whatever it was, Disney cut ties with her. I mean, she did lose that production. She was apparently producing a Tower of Terror movie for them.
Mm-hmm.
And now she ain't doing that anymore. So it's kind of one of those things where Disney might have been like, yes, we know, we're kind of screwing you over here. At least you're not getting the best end of this deal, but you're still in our good graces and we're still giving you avenues to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I guess that wasn't good enough for her. And this is where we are now. So, or at least maybe her lawyers told her it's better to do it this way.
Hey, sorry, go ahead, guys.
I don't know. I kind of see it your way, Clint, where I see both sides. Obviously, Matt said it. You got to move on. Disney's got other fish to fry. So it's like, I was thinking, all of us thought that this movie, like I was the best review of it, and but even I agree that this would have been better served had it been released around the time it's actually in the chronological order of the MCU. So the more and more and more you push back, I mean, who knows? That probably has absolutely little to do with the actual outcome of the movie, but I think if you kept pushing it back and back and back the way she would have wanted it to, it'd have just made even less. So you're kind of just fighting to get to the same position,
And and you bring up a point that I was just thinking. I'm like, didn't they make? She's one of the reasons this movie got made anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they didn't have to make this.
So it's like, all right, we made this movie because we had faith in you and we did this. And then you're just and we're giving you more production, like we're giving you more jobs after this. And then you're just going to go out and just toss us under the bus like that.
Yeah.
So
she should have restructured the contract where she gotten some type of percentage of subscription sales or something like that. I mean, I'm sure that's already in there somewhere. Like I'm sure that was already exercised and they exhausted those things. But I'm like, if you can't get it this way, and I'm like, ScarJo, she doesn't look like a dummy, so she could understand that this streaming is kind of while not overtaking the market per se, it's still a big staple. So Disney's, they're basically a monopoly. They're trying to make the money they, as they probably should, doing it via streaming.
Right.
So I'm like, but I get it. I get both sides. It's can be at war all day with this.
Well, sorry to before
you're
you
good.
talk, Ryan, is just before I forget this. So one, yes, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. I think that they should just settle and be like, okay, and just kind of like gloss this over and be like, yeah, we're both wrong. I forgot about the Tower of Terror thing. I completely forgot that they were giving her more jobs. But two, Alex said something that's kind of interesting. Is like, didn't they do that? Didn't Warner Brothers do that with Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot when they threw Wonder Woman on HBO Max? Didn't they give them like an extra $10 million each or something like that?
Which is a great deal since that movie stunk.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad when you should be learning from Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had to get that out.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. I'm like don't try to fight it's like pick your battles. Like, I understand your cause, but at the same time, come on. This is a big company that owns a lot of smaller companies, or subcategories here. I'm not saying bend over backwards to make them happy, but pick your battles. I mean, are you really that bad off with whatever deal you ended up getting? I mean, obviously not as good, but there's more projects to come your way.
It's probably just a culmination of things. It couldn't have just been that release. It has to be a lot of everything that would cause her to want to do that. But I don't think she's in a great position right now. I mean, like, they've, at least when Disney cut ties with like James Gunn, they still wanted to make another Guardians movie. And as soon as he like smoothed things over and they're like, and he has the script for it, they're like, all right, everything's fine, you can come back now. Like, do they really need Scarlett Johansson to come back?
No,
probably,
probably not. I mean, well, now they have even more reason not to.
Well, because like you said, Matt, I mean, Florence Pugh did a pretty good job as like a Black Widow replacement. So, I mean, there's your plug.
And I don't think they're going to call her in to want to do, I don't think she'd be like, all right, I'm going to go do this Disney Plus series now.
Probably not.
Yeah. I wouldn't hold your breath.
Yeah. Ryan, did you have any thoughts on this? We kept cutting him off.
I'm just waiting for him to talk, and then I'm going to talk right over him.
I'm back. I mean, legally speaking, I'm definitely against Disney on this. I think there were ways this could have been handled better from both parties for sure, and you guys pretty much touched on them already. And I think the people who weighed in kind of already looked at the morality of both. Emma Stone was like, I might, and then she was like, I won't. And now she's got Cruella 2 to look forward to and a nice paycheck. Whereas Denis Villeneuve was like, yeah, I'm going to make sure this is in every contract from now on. And that's also right. Those are the ways to handle that going forward. Pick your battles. Neither one of them, I don't think, handled this very well. I think most of the lawsuits that you find in film where actors sue the studio is not like weeks after its release. It's years after its release. I'm trying to think of a couple examples, but Robin Hood didn't, or Kevin Costner didn't sue over Robin Hood until 2013 or something like that, over DVD sales. So you don't, it's kind of when it's like, you're not going to make everyone look bad by doing this right away. And I don't think it helped the film that much either. For that matter, I don't think Disney's release, I think it's really ironic that I'm just going to say Disney, for not naming anybody particular, but Disney said that it never worked to make a female superhero movie for them, and then they did it and it didn't work. I don't think, I'm kidding. That's just financially ironic. But no, I mean, I think it could have been, of course, it could have been handled better if it came out on time or if they were made it early. So I think they're at fault there. But I mean, and then maybe just don't be so mean about it. You're getting sued. So what? Be bigger than the diva actor or actress who's suing you, and take the high road and be like, okay, let's talk about it. Because Warner Brothers was willing to talk about it, because I remember they were pretty upset about that, and then they settled, and then they released the movie.
Yeah.
But also, that should have been something they approached before they released the movie. So.
Yeah, especially since this has been pushed back twice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Right,
they've
yeah.
had lots of time to
3
think about
times.
how they were going to release this movie.
Yeah, 3 times.
I just imagine Scarlett standing on her hill going, all right, guys, who's with me? Who's coming with me on this class action laws? Everybody's like, no, we're good. We'll see how you do.
Yeah, right. Oh well. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I remember that because like Emma Stone was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna sue," and they were like, "You want Cruella too?" And she's like, "Yeah."
Ah,
All right, so that's the news. Um, news. Um, so yeah, you guys want to go through the movies that you guys?
oh, wait. Can I interject right quick? I don't know if we didn't discuss this before, but usually like when we do our show, it's like, all right, guys, we got news. And then we got some Marvel stuff. Anybody watch What If?
I watched the
Not
first
yet.
2 episodes.
Okay.
like,
I was gonna say I watched the first 2 as well. I was very, very super underwhelmed with the first episode so much. Like I was like, this is horrible. This is not horrible. It might be a strong word, but I was like, is this what we're gonna get? Because this is boring. But then the second episode rolled out, and thank God that was super entertaining. So don't even watch the first episode, just go right to the second one.
Yeah,
It's good stuff.
I think the reason to watch the first one, and I think it's probably the reason they put it in this order, is to warm people up to the idea. People are like, "What the heck does this mean? I want to know what my Marvel stuff is happening right now." And if they put it on and be like, "Wait, this didn't happen," I think it's kind of for people who are like it's because even the way they explain the inciting incident
Yeah.
is so much more gradual in the first one than the second one, where it's like, this is our clear cut, this is a what if story, then we're gonna have fun with it. I'm with you. I don't think it was good. I don't think it was at fault of anything except for the story itself, which was just a play-by-play of Captain America: The First Avenger, which isn't a very exciting movie, let alone crammed into 23 minutes. The second one was pretty great.
go
ahead.
I just love Bradley Whitford in the first one because he's like uber sexist, and I understand that it's like the time, but it was like he was like, you shouldn't even be here because you're a woman. Yeah, we got that the first time, Bradley. Thanks.
No.
Anyway,
I was just super amused by the new version of Star-Lord that it made my day in the saddest way possible, but it was super amazing.
Yeah. That's what it was too, is because like the first one is like, oh, we changed one thing and almost everything's the same but with a worse finale.
Yeah.
And this was like, you change one thing and you just have a completely different story, and you change everything we know about the MCU, and that's really entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
We don't want one little thing but different, but the same.
Yeah.
We don't want to be like, oh no, it's a girl, but it's the same story. Like, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, which was funny because they said that they were gonna like the writer of the episode was like, yeah, I really want to make like a Captain Carter movie, and I was like, I hope it's not this. Like, this would be really boring. Let's give her another job. Like, let's do something else. So
I will say the action in the first was so much better than the action that they decided to montage through in the first movie. So at least there was that.
Yeah,
that's true too. Yeah. Touche.
All right.
That's all. Good? Sorry.
That was
I just wanted to interject that.
Short little Marvel.
It felt natural, so now we can go back in.
Now we can go back in. All right. So, whatever you guys want to pick first. Let's like we talked about before. Let's save old Snake Eyes, Green Knight, and the Suicide Squad.
All right. So basically, for everyone that's listening, Ryan and Alex watched a bunch of movies that Clint and I did not watch.
Right.
So we're gonna let them go movie by movie, give their quick thumbs up, thumbs down rating, whatever they need to say about it. Hopefully not too terribly long-winded, and probably not spoilerish, but we'll see.
There was no Fast and Furious of these movies, so.
No, not entertainingly that bad.
Well, Alex, we both watched Jungle Cruise. You want to start with that?
Sure. Go ahead. Give your thoughts.
Okay. I mean, this was a lazy retread of everything we expected from this movie, I think. It's the setup from The Mummy stitched onto the entirety of Pirates of the Caribbean, beat for beat for beat, even down to the twist, and all parties included, and the finale, except for maybe a really silly and questionable resolution that just quickly resolves itself and undoes any of the themes it builds up. It's very, very, very badly edited, and there are a few redeeming things about it. It's not the worst thing in the world. Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson are good, and the score is pretty fun. And if you don't care about any of the things I said, I guess it's a fun time. But I'm going to say thumbs down, 4 out of 10.
Yeah, gosh, I saw it so long ago, 3 weeks ago. It's hard to remember everything. I remember thinking it was kind of middle of the road, like nothing groundbreaking, but I certainly didn't hate it. Yeah, you bring, Pirates of the Caribbean is going to be the, what do you call it? Not elephant in the room, but the biggest thing to compare it to. And people are like, "Hey, is it like that?" I'm like, "No, kind of, but it's like the Disney Channel version of Pirates of the Caribbean. It's got its Disney kiddie humor that's cheesy and everything, and that's what it comes with the territory. It's fine. Dwayne Johnson, I actually found very very amusing in this. He tells a lot of dad jokes in this, and I couldn't help but chuckle at a few things. I'm just like, because they're so dumb, but that's where
I begrudgingly agree with that.
That's my neck of the woods there. So I found it amusing. The end of that movie gets a little crazy and unnecessarily so. I'd say 6 out of 10. Would I go see it again? Sure, but will I have this in my collection? Probably not. So 6.
Is this a go to the movies full Tuesday Redbox?
Cable? Ryan's probably gonna say Redbox. I would say go see this in the movies.
I'd say wait for it to be free on Disney Plus. That way, if you're already paying for that, you don't have to pay for this movie.
Okay.
If you're gonna watch it, but I could see Redbox.
That's fair.
Like if you want to see it, I guess maybe it's probably worth $1.50 of entertaining nonsense.
Fair enough.
I didn't hate it. There were worse movies I watched over the last couple weeks.
I just need to isolate some of that audio of you guys saying you like Dwayne Johnson.
He is
I
one of the
like
best things
Dwayne
about the movie.
Johnson.
He is
I'll
definitely
send it
one
to
of the
you.
best things about the movie.
Yeah.
I don't like him, but he's definitely one of the best things about this movie.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Cool.
All right. What's the next one, Ryan? You got the list.
I will go through a couple little ones because I don't think you watched 2 of the ones I did. They're relatively new, but I'm not going to be too long on them. The film, the indie drama with it's Michelle Pfeiffer. Yes, with Michelle Pfeiffer called French Exit came out. It was in limited release in summer, but summer's not a good time for indie films to come out, so it didn't get a theatrical release at all. It's this little bizarre film about this widower, just a widow, just a widow.
Oh.
Don't need to add anything to it. Anyway, she runs out of money, so she wants to just take her son to France and spend all the money she has left and die. And it's actually a pretty entertaining story. It's got some amusing moments. It's like a very, very toned down Wes Anderson as far as its story, its characters, and eccentricity goes. You just start to build all these oddly broken characters in this one room, and they're all just chilling together in France, giving their perspectives about life while doing random things. And she's burning things on tables because she's upset with service. And it's interesting to see. It's a refreshing take. It's got some great performances. It just doesn't resolve anything by the end, so it's not a great watch. But if you do like kind of indie drom-coms, I'd say it's worth going out of your way to watch. I gave it a 6, but it's a good 6 because it also had probably one of the best laughs I've seen all year. So it's definitely a couple good laughs, definitely a couple good feels. It's dry humor, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Cool.
Next thing I watched, which came out in limited release in early July, and then I don't think it got a theatrical release either, but I know it was big for a little bit, either on streaming or rental or something, because 3 other people told me about it before I watched it and I even heard of it, which is called Werewolves Within, which is a horror comedy based on the video game from 2013. This park ranger goes to this new town. There's a bunch of people. There's a werewolf killing people. It's not good. So you don't need to see it. I guess if you want a horror, there are better horror comedies to watch. This is just a very not funny version of The Thing, trying to be really funny. And the lead actor, I can't remember his name, Sam Richardson, who was not funny in the Chris Pratt movie, the one we just watched. Tomorrow War.
I was
Yeah.
about to say Edge of
Um,
Tomorrow.
He was. I don't think he was a funny comic relief in that movie. Picture that, but for 90 minutes and a really bad payoff.
Gross.
Were they? I feel like I read something about this movie where at least the effects good.
There aren't that many effects.
Okay.
There's
Maybe
just
it
a
wasn't
couple
that.
grisly off-screen deaths, and then some comedy, and then they just try to have it be kind of a Clue ending. But
Okay.
I've seen Clue and I like Clue, so I didn't need that to just be the same thing. So I mean, it's not the worst time, but if you're gonna go out of your way to watch one movie, I laughed a lot more at French Exit than Werewolves Within, out of the two indie comedies that are a Redbox, that are relatively new. So next, I think we had Free Guy. Alex, you watch Free Guy?
Yep.
You wanna go first?
This movie was this is the summer of 5/6s out of 10s. And this is I'd say 6 out of 10 for this one. This felt like a movie that a bunch of people who didn't really play video games but knew like the, what do you call it? Not the generic, what's the opposite? Like the overused references for games, like, hey, a health box, hey, a machine gun, hey, this. It felt like a bunch of people who don't know really much about gaming except the obvious things kind of made a video game movie. It's fine. Ryan Reynolds is charming. It's a cutesy movie. They kind of shoehorn a love story. They don't shoehorn it, but it's kind of not what we're expecting out of this. So it's not my cup of tea, but there are certainly worse things to watch. The effects are fun. And then they have like a bunch of Easter eggs right at a specific moment, and I'm not gonna really say what they're about because then I'll kind of give it away. 6 out of 10. The story's fine. Takai Waititi, I wish they would have let him a little bit more loose in this this movie, because I actually like this character, but I wish he would have been a little bit more rough around the edges, like even more so. But other than that, it's kind of a forgettable movie, other than the fact that it just has gaming stuff in it. So 6 out of 10 again.
I agree with most of that. I'm going to say probably be a little more positive. And ironically, because I play way less video games, none of that crossed my mind.
Bingo.
So
that's it. That's why.
Yeah, I gave it a 7. I enjoyed this movie, I think, because it just kind of has everything in it. Alex, I couldn't agree with you more. By definition of shoehorning something where you've got your foot in and you're not sure if it'll fit or not, and then you just decide to cram your foot in anyway with your awkward shoehorn, it's exactly what that feels like. Your shoe fits, it kind of works. For the rest of it, I liked it a lot. I agree. I think there's just some tropes that they just kind of glazed over a lot of the tropes instead of. I didn't really have a lot of comparisons to Ready Player One, and I was trying to, but I feel like that movie does get a lot of specific game things better, because it has more to do than just video games, which is kind of ironic that the video game only movie misses some of those. But I thought it was a pretty fun time. It tells a good story. It's got good performances. It's very funny. It's surprisingly sentimental. I wouldn't say it got all choked up, but I was like, it definitely sold me on some of the feels.
Yeah.
I wish it had sold me a little more by the end. I feel like it just didn't really have a gutsy ending, and it could have. And it would have probably fit that love story in a little better if it had. And I agree. I think Taika Waititi was very funny and he was very good, but it felt like he got to write his own dialogue, but then didn't want to change any of it on set.
Right.
Which is fine.
And that he easily had a filter, which actually leads me to my other thought is, what is the rating on this movie? PG-13?
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I crazy, or were there several F-bombs in this movie?
There were almost several. There were like 2 definitive ones because there's not much other language.
Yeah, because I was like, I hear correctly when we were in the infancy of this podcasting, where it's 1 F-bomb that you're allowed?
Typically,
Okay.
Yeah.
I could have sworn I remember at least 3 of them, and I'm just like, okay, I guess we're keeping this PG-13 just for the heck of it.
There's a leeway on like context and aggression, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, I just remember that being an oddity with me. I was just like,
I think
So what-
Invictus got away with 3.
Well, I think the reason I really was thinking about it was because there was a lady who was like, "You've got R-rated trailers on your PG-13 movie," and I look back and I'm like, "This is what was approved." And then I was like, I remember watching this movie before she did, and I was like, I'm the one who put them together. I don't remember anything crazy, but I remember the movie being like, okay, I guess we're getting away with things there.
Well, 2 things. First, typically it's traditional for PG-13 movies to have R-rated movie trailers on them. That's a normal thing as long
Yeah.
as they're not red band.
Exactly.
Secondly, what I'm taking away from this as a guy who hasn't seen this movie is if you play a lot of video games, you might get annoyed by all the references that you might feel are cheesy and stupid in this movie and not clever enough. However, if you don't play video games, you might be like, oh, that's cute.
Yes, I feel like it does have a broader
Correct.
appeal for people who aren't going to be. They're not, because the people who want to go into it without the video game attachments aren't going to be as let down by the glaze of nostalgia instead of specific things that it's trying to focus on.
Could not have said it better.
Yeah.
So, plus, there's some really funny cameos. I mean, I went into it not expecting anything like. I didn't expect many surprises from it, but it's got some nice
Yeah.
surprises.
Yeah, it does. A couple of them are pretty cool. All right, what's the next thing? I saw the sequel to Don't Breathe. Did you see that?
I did not.
Am I the only one?
All
Okay.
yours.
No
I feel-
spoilers, please.
I'm really just gonna say if you like the first one, well, because I thought the first one was okay. Like I didn't think it was fabulous. I thought it was good. This one I kind of had the same feelings. The only thing I've ever said to you guys is that they do a good job of kind of hazing who's the bad guy. You don't know who it is. I mean, both sides are bad.
It's typically the guy not holding the turkey baster.
I don't know, man. You're gonna go into this and you're gonna be conflicted. You know, I'd say another 6 out of 10 again. It's fine. Did we need this? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if we did, but Stephen Lang's all right, I guess.
Of course he is. He's always at least good.
The story itself is mildly like engaging. Like I find myself like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Like I'm actually intrigued. And I don't even remember if there's room for maybe even a third one because I forgot exactly what there's some type of secret ending, but you know, it's all right. Go ahead, Clint.
So, like Matt, is this a $5 Tuesday Redbox or waiting for HBO?
It's kind of in that $5 Redbox range. I would say worth $1 view. $5 is pushing it, but if I paid $5 for it, I wouldn't be upset.
I'll add on to that question. Let's say you gave the original an 8 out of 10 and are reluctant to see the new one. Should you watch the new one? Because I really like the original and I have not made myself go see this one.
That's so hard because I know that's Matt as well, and I'm like, it's so
Just
hard.
bite the bullet on it, man. Just go and watch it. If it sucks, you'll just enjoy the first one more.
It's not the same thing, but I viewed it like overall as far as quality goes, I viewed it the same. I just go like Matt said, just do it. I know this is going to be a step down. This has to be a step down for you guys.
Band-Aid ribbing.
Just go ahead and do it, and just go into it thinking it's going to be a horrible sequel, and then you'll be mildly not upset, and then think it's just an mediocre.
Sequel. Yeah.
That's
know
all.
I don't know if in the history of sequels, being a mediocre sequel is actually better than being a horrible sequel. I think being a horrible sequel kills the franchise and doesn't let any more happen.
True, that is a good argument, but I still say that go see it and just view it as you will, and let us know your thoughts. Hopefully next week.
I will try.
All right. What's the next one?
You saw Stillwater.
I did see Stillwater. That actually is probably the best thing, at least theatrically, that I've seen this year. Matt Damon does a really good performance. I mean, it's pretty simplistic. He's, his character's pretty, southern and pretty just, yes ma'am, no ma'am, kind of guy. There are certain performances where people like Matt Damon did so good in this that I forgot it was Matt Damon. Like I was just focusing on the character and what he was going through, that I was just like, this is good. This is a fairly good story. The cinematography, looking over landscapes of, I mean, this is a minor spoiler. It kind of shows it in the trailer anyway, that he goes to France. They overlook a lot of good venues in Europe generally, and it's really well shot. And the pacing is spot on. I mean, not any scene drags on, and it doesn't just quick at all. The only thing, and I won't say because it's the very very ending, just leaves a bad taste in your mouth to an otherwise really really well put together movie. I didn't catch who directed this, but
I believe this is Tom Hopper, isn't it?
No, it's yes. Wait,
if it is, they did a really good job. I fairly enjoyed this movie. Like this is one I would put into my collection.
it's the one who did Spotlight. Tom McCarthy.
Tom McCarthy.
Yeah, so all really well put together. That like I said, it's the very very end of that movie that just like I just wish it wouldn't have ended that way. But yeah, this is easily at least a $5 kind of movie. But if you definitely find it on Redbox and it hasn't been taken yet, do it and give it a watch. It's a fairly good story, and there's some heartfelt moments in there for sure. What else?
We both watched. I was trying to think if there's anything else before Night House, because that takes us to this past
I saw
weekend.
Respect. Did you see that?
Also this week. Oh yeah, Respect, because that was last weekend. Go for it. I did not, because of the 2-hour 20-minute tag that I just couldn't afford the time
it
for.
was it's that actually surprisingly wasn't bad. I'd say if I didn't give my Stillwater rating, by the way, 8 out of 10. This one I'd give a 7. It's a friggin' long movie. That's the only downside of it, is that there's too much of it. It should have taken a step back and like, all right, we can edit this and this. A couple scenes are held a little long, but overall the story is like I don't know Aretha Franklin's history, so I kind of went into this blind. I just know the song really. But it was a good story. Marlon Wayne is in it, and he plays a good. You know what? I'm not even gonna say, because it kind of spoils it later on. A lot of good performances. Who's the guy? Not Walker. What's his name? The guy from Jingle Jangle.
Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker. Thank you. I said Jingle Jangle because we actually just made that reference.
Congratulations, Forrest Whitaker. You're the guy from Jingle Jangle now.
You're the guy from Jingle Jangle.
Congratulations, Academy Award
butler.
winner, Forrest Whitaker.
Hopefully we get a Jingle Jingle 2 this Christmas.
I think we are getting Jingle Jangle 2. That's
definitely. Did I just will that into existence?
No, I think that's
dirty
the thing that's
happening. Yeah, right after we get Artemis Fowl 2.
It's happening. Oh.
No, anyway, not to deviate too far into that. Let's get off of that.
Don't even.
Forrest
a year.
Forrest Whitaker, he's kind of become Vince Vaughn, where he's just kind of the same guy in every movie.
Matt, your reactions. I know what you mean, Alex. Sorry. Continue.
I don't know. It's like he does. It feels like you could have thought he was the guy from Jingle Jangle in this movie, but not with the happy turnaround.
Do you think he's the same character in Star Wars?
As Jingle Jangle? Or as Respect?
Yes. Yeah.
I guess.
Forrest Whitaker has a level of commitment where it's either he's interested in the project or he's not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is still good. It's just not this good. It's not
It's-
Last King of Scotland. It's Rogue One.
I mean,
Last
so
King of Scotland.
he does a good. He has good performance like spots, and he does a decent job of making because he's Aretha Franklin's father, and he's kind of like what do you call it? Not overbearing, but like kind of like not controlling. I guess is the best word because I don't have a better one. He's good and like frustrating. Like you need to be frustrated at him. That's the whole point of his character. I don't know a lot of her history, but it was very interesting certain things and with these movies like Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody, all these like autobiographical movies, you just wait for that moment where they reveal the song in which the movie's named after, and this happens I don't know somewhere around an hour into this movie, and I'm just like, we still got an hour and 20 minutes left of this. How much respect is there, really? So but overall, I joke. This is a movie. I say all these good things, and I say some of these iffy things, but overall, it was a good movie. I don't think this is a movie that you need to see in theaters. I think this is a perfect movie for like Amazon Prime. Because I don't know why. I just kept thinking that. I was like, if I'd have pulled this up on Amazon Prime and just watched it at home, I just feel like the environment's just a little bit better just being at home with this one.
Yeah.
Would you have felt a little less awkward, Alex?
How do you mean?
No, I'm just saying. Why you gotta watch this at home?
I don't know, man. I don't know what you're getting
Alex,
at.
let me ask you another question and save you real quick. As someone who watches a good bit of music biopics, is this kind of a dime a dozen film that's still good, or does it actually stand out as if it's like really worth watching?
It's more not dime a dozen. I thought Bohemian Rhapsody was better, but I thought this one was better than Rocket Man. I think Rocket Man's the worst one of these biograph picks. I don't know. I'd say maybe $5 a dozen or something like that.
Well, you think these biography films, I mean, they're basically carried by their central character. So, like, how would you rate? Was it Jennifer Hudson's performance behind?
Great.
Like, okay.
Absolutely great. Yeah, like I really felt like she was her. Other than the obvious difference in like actual looks, she sounded pretty spot on. I'm sure that wasn't her all the time. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
She can sing.
Yeah,
okay, then maybe it was. So she knocked it out of the ballpark with her performance. She is, with any problem with this movie, she's not one of them. Her acting is spot on, and the performance overall is just really good. So, there's just
Oscar
a couple.
Nomination?
Probably, yeah. I would say yes. Yeah, you know what? Pretty easily, yeah. I'm sure there's got to be a nomination for this easily. Whether or not she wins, that's a whole nother discussion. But so 7 out of 10 for me on that one.
Cool.
I think. Did you watch Protege?
I did not. Continue.
Actually, I just watched that this morning.
I feel like I've seen the whole thing though.
Wait, no, didn't we talk about this? Where? Oh no, you joked as in because you knew
As
the
in I've seen
synopsis.
it.
Yeah. So this movie, it's generic. It's a revenge movie, but not as good. Maggie Hughes. Is it Q or G? I can't remember.
Q.
Which. Q. Okay. She's all right. Samuel L. Jackson's a little what do you call it?
Being paid to be there.
Yeah, he's kind of disposable in this. I mean, I sat there thinking, of all of Sam Jackson's performances, like there are so many speeches and scenes that are just are tattooed in your brain. This is not one of them. This is easily not one of them. It was just a name to have on. Michael Keaton is a little bit like that, although I liked him way more in this than Sam Jackson's part. it's just a generic. Like, if you need something that's kind of the run of the mill, but you want something that's literally a different title, go watch this. Action scenes are fine. It's all kind of just recycled stuff, recycled story, recycled, choreography, and so on and so on. Cinematography is, not, I mean, bland, but not in a bad way. It's okay. It's 5.5 out of 10. It's it's something to watch. I literally watched it this morning, so that's the freshest thing in my brain. And then but yeah. So now let's see. Let me make sure that I haven't covered anything. Okay, Night House.
So, oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And I've got 2 more after. I'll be quick on those.
You go on Night House since I've been talking.
Night House is a surprisingly good film. It's not great. If you go into this with high expectations or expectations of what the story is going to be like, you might find yourself let down. I think the trailer does an incredible job keeping you guessing, almost to a fault where you start to think you know where it's going. And the film does keep you on your toes, I think, for 85% of the runtime, where you just, it's got such a strong setup with a great character setup, or character introduction and inciting incident, and it does a really good job telling that protagonist's, or Rebecca Hall's, story as a character and thematically weaving that into the story. That both the story and the themes really are sold by the end of it, kind of working hand in hand. There are other films that I did this, and I think we were talking about it earlier, and I mentioned The Babadook, which is a better version of this film. So if you haven't seen The Babadook, that's my endorsement. It's 2014. It's really, really, really good. This isn't quite that, and I think there's only a couple reasons not. It's really good, but there's a couple ideas near the end that are a hard sell, and the way they go about connecting those ideas is a little corny. Now, horror movies almost always, I feel like a lot of recent horror movies have struggled with their endings. This one does better than a lot of others. So I want to give it, Alex, I think you pointed that out, that we've seen a lot of horror movies lately where it's like, oh, what a good movie and a bad ending. It's not a bad ending. It's just, it's not as good as the rest of the movie has built it up to be. But I still think it's a really good movie. And the thing that anchors it for me, other than the really good, before I get to the thing that anchors it to me, it's a creepy movie. There's some rules that get broken with sound that make me very uncomfortable throughout, where there'll be like pan, shot, transition, jump scare sound, but the sound won't go away after, and you're stuck with this freaked out expression, but it won't stop. And you're used to horror movies making you jump, and that's it. And then you can calmly wait for the next jump, so you can calmly wait for the big jump, and the scene's over. This is like that sound, and you just can't get rid of it. I really liked that. I really appreciate the sound design for this movie because it does keep you really on at the edge of your seat. Rebecca Hall is also fantastic. That was the thing I was going to say, is the thing that I think sells that movie for me. If she wasn't as good as she was, it'd probably be an average horror movie and a Redbox watch. But gosh, she is really good. She is dealing with so many different emotions as a character of dealing with this range, where she's dealing with the concept of suicide and seeing somebody affected by that, but also this curiosity of finding out more about this person and not understanding why, and then being in a horror film. And it takes a lot of work, and she really puts in the work for it. So solid 7 out of 10. Not as great as it could be, but I think pretty good.
That's a way elegant synopsis of this movie. I also say 7 out of 10. I'm not gonna be quite as fancy with my description. Yeah, her performance, Rebecca Hall, really good. I agree. She sold her character pretty well. Like, you were engaged in what she was doing and what she was trying to figure out in this movie. You mentioned the trailer. I never did watch the trailer with this. That's a part where I'll disagree. I feel like this movie's a little bit better not knowing anything going into it.
No, I agree with that. I wasn't trying to say that. I apologize. I was trying to say the trailer's deceptive to a fault, where you think you know what's going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did think we were mentioning, I think before we even started recording tonight, that we were talking about ripoffs, and I couldn't help but think, Ryan likes this because this is an Invincible Man ripoff. Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, I agree. I can see that. There's
Homage.
definitely some Invisible Man tension building and elements to it.
Right. I mean, it's not
Different visuals, but
it borrows a
Yeah.
lot of heavy ideas, but not entirely. It rubs off on that pretty well. But
it's the can I copy your homework, but they actually get an A because it's not recognizable, but it's close.
You're right, exactly. That sounds like a pretty good way of putting it. Yeah, most horror movies, and of the horror genre, I am the least fan here. I mean, because most of them just don't appeal to me. But the genre, in general, whenever I do see one, typically has a good 3/4 of the movie, and then it just kind of falls flat, and I just like that ending was dumb. That ending was dumb. It had so much potential. This one, albeit I'll agree with you, it doesn't totally stick the landing, but I think it holds on well enough for me to, say that this was a pretty good story all the way through. It is a little bit cheesy and kind of stretch of the imagination as how it gets to its resolution, if you can even say that is. But still, overall, it's kind of like Stillwater. Like, it doesn't ruin the entire movie for me. Yes, I also 7 out of 10. Fairly good. This is this a $5 movie? Oh, that's so hard to say. It's right in between.
I say go see it. It's the only thing out this weekend that's worth watching.
True. So yes, $5, especially if you have a coupon with you.
A matinee price, $8.25.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I think until we get to where we've all seen stuff, that is it. Oh, and I forgot to mention the video game stuff that I did. Because Ryan's background reminded me. I did finish Breath of the Wild. It was a good movie, good game, but I think that there are other Zelda games that I have enjoyed far, far more, because this one, obviously, it's an open world game, and I just feel like the lack of linear, like, Zelda-ness kind of just not leaves a sour taste in my mouth, but it's not what I'm used to, and I'm trying to find a little bit more love than I most likely have for it. Like Skyward Sword, I love. Twilight Princess, I love. This one, it's a fairly good game. It's not a bad game. It's just not my favorite Zelda game. And then I also played Plague Tale, similar to Matt. I played that from start to finish. That was really, I don't want to say fun game, but it's a very entertaining story, very much so, especially since it was free. If you can find that now for like, I'd say about $15 or less, certainly get it, play through. It's a great tale. That ending is a little odd. You'll see what I mean if anybody here plays it. For that game, 7 out of 10 for sure. I think that's as far as my gaming goes. Sorry.
All good. I know what you mean about Breath of the Wild. When I played it, I love open world games, so I loved not caring about the story. But as someone who like story driven games, it does not encourage you to continue to do the story.
Correct. It's so broken up because it doesn't do it as good as Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima has the story, and then you're doing quests for a long time. And this is very much like that, but it's the story is not as doesn't drive it as much.
Yeah, you're like, well, game. I got time. I want to fly over here.
Yeah, and then you almost
like, I need to find out what happens.
You almost forget what you're doing because you're trying to find shrines and treasures, and so it's still a good game.
All right, I'll be quick with my last ones because you guys are being such good listeners. I'll go backwards too, so that Matt, you can pitch in a little bit because you've seen some of one of these. I watched the number one on Netflix as of today. I wanted to make sure it was still number one when I talked about this. The Jason Momoa action thriller Sweet Girl, which is stupid. Please don't watch it. It is a bad movie, but it is not traditionally bad, as in, oh, it's an okay story with okay performances. It's a hard sell. Like, it follows a guy his wife is dying of cancer. This company has these experimental drugs and they pull them off the market, so she dies, and he decides to go out for revenge and kill all of them. What? Like it's not a sellable premise. It's just
Oh,
there's
really?
no military backstory. He's just a regular guy who's out for revenge. And I guess it's Jason Momoa, so you kind of buy that he can physically do some of these things because he's Jason Momoa. But then there's this, so it's just this below average thriller for most of the runtime. Then there's this really, really, it might be one of, if I made a list of 10 worst plot twists I saw on a movie, after doing a good bit of research, this would make the cut. And I don't want to spoil it, but it makes you look back on the logic of the last hour and 20 minutes that you wasted and say, nope, none of it can happen. Doesn't ring a bell. It is just so unbelievably impossible that it actually becomes funny. And the last 15 minutes of this film was just so hilariously bad that it almost makes it so bad it's good, except that you've got to sit through an hour of 20 minutes of dull action movie to get there.
Oh.
Oh, well, you sold this to me, man. It almost sounds like Jason Momoa had like a friend with him, and they went to like Netflix, and they're walking around, and they walk in, they're like, "All right, guys, pitch us something," and his friend's like, and just starts making up something.
Matt, you know what's funny? This film is by Brian Andrew Mendoza, who did Frontier with Jason Momoa, Brazen with Jason Momoa, and Road to something else with Jason Momoa. So they're definitely buddies.
Stop letting the
just a
guy in the pitch
coincidence.
meeting. Just
Yeah.
stop letting him in the pitch meeting, please.
Yeah.
He's like,
And-
I've got an idea, but I'm also bringing Jason Momoa to the table.
No.
For the record, too, Jason Momoa, I don't think is at fault here. He delivers an okay performance. It's good. It's not his fault when it's not good. It's very badly written. He's given like the worst dialogue. There's like there's like a 2-year gap, and he's wearing like the same outfit with the same haircut 2 years later. There's no passage of time whatsoever. It's just he's given nothing to work with. He has one scene early on where he has to like cry, and I realized I've never seen Jason Momoa be emotional. He was really good in that scene, especially. Like, he does a really good job selling that emotion. So for that, I'll give it a 3 out of 10 instead of a 2 out of 10.
They probably just showed him yesterday's dailies.
They let him read the last 10 pages of the script.
You couldn't see him cry in Aquaman because he was underwater. Okay, Ryan, give him a break.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, not a good movie. I don't recommend it. It's like The Ice Road, where it's like, this is fine,
I forgot
this
about
is
that.
bad, this is terrible. Why am I still watching this?
But you'd rather watch The Ice Road.
Ironically, yes. Ice Road is consistently funnier than this, which is only funny at the end.
Wow.
That said, if you're on Netflix and you want something good to watch, The Witcher has an animated film out. It's not quite anime, but it's that anime style. I'll be quick. If you like Witcher, you should watch this. If you like the Witcher lore, you should watch this. If you like Castlevania, you should watch this. And if you just want an intense animated film, you should watch this. It's pretty awesome. It's got violence, interesting characters, great performances. It's really, really, I love this animation style. It lends itself so well to this dark, gritty world that these films are set, series. You know, that Castlevania and this could only be told in this animation style. You can't convert it to something where the characters look goofy and have it be as violent as it is. It's what doesn't work about these animated films that try to be R-rated. You know, and it's got animators who worked on Invincible and Avatar and Korra and the Boondocks, and it's
Wow.
a really, really good team that put this together. Ironically, I couldn't find anybody who worked on Castlevania who worked on this. I'm sure there's a couple people because it's the same. It's like the same thing. It's even got some of the cast members. But everyone does a great job. The only negative thing I have to say about it, and the thing that it really docks it from an 8 to a 7 for me, because it is really interesting. The story's interesting. It's really poorly paced. It's interesting, exciting, and then they cram in like maybe 20 minutes of flashback material all in the second act and break it up with things that aren't really happening. And that's not really a good way to do flashbacks. You can open with them, you can dice them up and sprinkle them throughout, or you can put them where they're relevant. The film that came to mind was Lion with Dev Patel, which just kind of tossed them all. It's not really even flashback. They just open with the backstory and get to the real stuff. Or Ghost of Tsushima, which isn't a movie, but that incorporates its flashbacks very well, where it's for the player learning the stuff, but it's also when it's relevant to the character to be remembering those things, and that works. This really bogs the film down, but it's still really worth watching. It's really enjoyable. You don't have to have watched the Witcher series, but if you watch it, it helps. There's even notes to it in the score. 7 out of 10, definitely worth watching. And then Reminiscence with Hugh Jackman. Matt, you watched most of this. Do you have any thoughts so far?
We discussed this a little bit earlier. I still about 25 minutes or 20 minutes of this, just under 2-hour film, I believe, movie to watch. It's kind of like a futuristic, which is weird to say, but it's a futuristic, like dystopian, like kind of like murder thriller, criminal mystery type of movie. The setting is awesome. A lot of the building blocks of the film is awesome. When you get to the whole plot of it, it kind of stumbles around a little bit. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in the end, so I'm not sure if it's going to stick its landing or not. If I was a Batman, I'm probably going to say no. But the reason I've continued to watch it is because I enjoy the world actually that it takes place in, and kind of like the situation of what's going on more than the actual plot itself of the movie. So right now I probably would give it, probably without seeing the ending, probably a 6 out of 10, probably would go down to a 5 if it completely blows it, but 6 out of 10 for me.
I completely agree with that. I have good news and bad news for you. It sticks the landing and then overstays its welcome.
Well, okay. Good to know.
You won't, I think for what it's trying to be, which is a very interesting sci-fi film with a very interesting premise and great performances, that goes down this spiral of I don't really care who these people are, and there's all these things to remember and plot threads. You know, you just kind of watch it and kick back and not really invest too much in it because it's not going to draw you in. But Matt, like you said, the world building I think it's really the reason that I enjoyed it. I also gave it a 6 out of 10. I think if you like any cult classic sci-fi, it's at least worth watching. And we talked about this earlier, but the reason I think I like it even more is that nobody saw it this weekend, and I think it did deserve to at least do okay at the box office.
I like your description of calling it a watered down Blade Runner, just because it's clever. So, but yes, there you go.
You know what's really ironic though is that like you guys are describing this and it's like I like the world and like the story is not really all this interesting. It's funny because this is from Lisa Joy, who is she's wife of Jonathan Nolan, and the two of them have created Westworld, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first 2 seasons of Westworld are amazing, and like the 3rd season is not all that great. At least the 4 episodes that I've watched so far, and it's literally the same reason where it's like I'm watching this because I like the world that they've created, but a lot of this is kind of like Ex Machina host. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like this is what would happen if Lisa Vanker was out in the world, pretty much.
So it's the sequel.
Well, yeah.
Spoilers for Ex Machina.
Yeah.
A
so
8-year-old movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I could see that too. I mean, I definitely knew there's like at least a couple actors and the composer brought over from Westworld. So
cool.
I think at least two actors. I don't remember.
I don't know.
I'd also like to note that apparently Thandie Newton doesn't age. I feel like she's looked the same for like 30 years.
She also delivers probably the best performance in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, Hugh Jackman's great, and Rebecca Ferguson's pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's not like the performances are bad. I think the thing at fault is just I don't really care about the story. Like once you dive into, it's like you know what's funny? The protagonist doesn't care about the story either. Hugh Jackman's just trying to find this girl, and it's taking him on all these plot threads, and he's like, I don't care, but he's following it along because he's trying to find this girl, and it's pretty much what the audience is like. Yeah, I'm like, I care about what you care about, protagonist. I don't care about whatever else is happening, but it keeps doing it. But yeah, it's an okay movie. Cool. That's all I've got.
All right, so now we're kind of where the 3 of you watched The Green Knight. So please, no spoilers. I still want to watch this movie.
I'll go first. Trying to keep this short. I really enjoyed this film. It's a very monotonous film. It can feel a little long at times, but I enjoyed it visually. I enjoyed all the performances in it. I enjoyed. I definitely tell. Was great in it. It actually, I got home that night after watching it, and I turned on cable, and the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel was coming on, and I was like, you know what? I've never seen this movie, but you know what, Dev? I'm gonna watch this now because of you. And it was actually a solid film that you guys should check out. So
I watched the second one.
no worries about that. I really enjoyed it. My biggest flaw with it, because I wasn't a huge fan of the ending. That was my main concern when I got home, and I'd never read the poem before, and I was just a little confused as to what was going on. So I read at least a synopsis of the poem, and I think the film got away from what the poem was trying to get to at the end, and I don't think it delivered it as well. It was just trying to be more entertaining and like more visually stunning, but I think it got away from like what exactly was supposed to be happening at the end, and that was my only concern with the film. I'm very excited. I want to watch it again. I'm planning on watching it again. You know, I don't know if I'll buy it or not. I don't really buy DVDs anymore, but I'll definitely check it out probably when it comes back. Yeah,
it's a good market right now. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Whoever the actor who played King Arthur, it was such a subtle, nuanced performance that I was just blown away by that personally. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I love him.
So yeah. So I would probably, I don't know if I would give it an 8. It's almost an 8 for me. I'm gonna give it the dreaded 7.5 out of 10, and I will wait to watch it again and see how I feel after that.
Cool.
Ryan, you have thoughts first?
Yeah, I agree with almost everything you said. In fact, this was the most reluctant 8 I think I've ever given, to the point where I did not want to give it an 8, but it is so well made that if it doesn't get Oscar nominations, I'll bump it up to a 9 for spite. I won't, but I will buy this when it comes out. And I didn't love it, but I definitely gave it an 8. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around my feelings about this movie. And I saw it a couple weeks. It was like we saw it like the day after we got back from Hawaii. So it's not like I was trying to think about other things. I just wanted to watch this movie. There's a lot to process, and surprisingly not a lot to process. And I think that comes with the way this film is told. And as a film that's basically a laid out fable, I think it does an excellent job doing that. I don't think films should make a habit of doing that. But by the end, Matt, I think I agree with you. It's a careful story they've got to wrap up.
Yeah.
And I have not read either. I'm not going to call them adaptations. Iterations, I think, is what they're called, by Tolkien and the other writer. We have both of them, and I haven't read either one because I didn't want to know anything going into this. It's like this. It's just like the very, very. It's the Saint Maud where it's like selling me, you're selling me, huh, and it's over. And I'm just not 100% sure it's there, but I don't think expectations make a difference for the ending. I think the middle is the second act is pretty much where you need to keep your expectations, because it does go very much from story setup and story resolution, and the middle is your character's journey. But it's very Jabberwocky, the Monty Python Jabberwocky-esque, where you're kind of just along for the ride, but it's not a funny movie. It's hard to describe. I would go into it with no expectations at all. It's a good movie. It's very, very well made. The cinematography is gorgeous. The production design and the costume design made me wish that more medieval movies were coming out. And then, lo and behold, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are giving us one in a couple months.
Yeah,
so I'm very excited that we're getting 2 big budget. They look big budget scale, medieval kind of fantasy-esque films. So I'm happy about that. Daniel Hart's score is fantastic, and I've listened to it like 6 times, and that was the thing that put me from a 7 to an 8.
I never do that, Ryan, but I literally, as soon as the movie was over, I don't know if it was on Spotify yet, because we had watched it early. So I had to wait, I think, the next day to pull it up on Spotify. Maybe. I remember I had trouble finding it, but I found it. I was like, I need to listen to this again, because I think that score was like instrumental in like making that movie as beautiful as it was.
Matt, you're going to love and hate this comparison. I immediately got back and I listened to the score, and then I watched and listened to King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, a movie which I admittedly still like. These movies are the polar opposite of King Arthur movies. If you want your style over substance or your substance over style.
Yeah.
And the scores are very much the same. Where like they have like they pull from a lot of the same orchestration, and they feel very similar, but they're nothing alike. And I love Daniel Pemberton's score from that as well. It's just like this score, but on steroids. That's all I had to say. I just thought it was funny because I know.
Now, after we praise this movie, Alex,
Hello.
Here he comes.
Um,
Kidding.
No, I also, I mean, I didn't think it was as good. I think it's because I too, like Matt, did not read the poem, um, before this. I did have expectations going into it. Like I was really hyped to see this. Um, I think it's because I had an expectation of what I thought was supposed to happen as far as the story goes, and it just didn't happen the way I thought it was, at least advertised in my brain. And I'm not gonna say I was let down because it was a good tale. And visually it was really good. The shot for shots were right on. And I'm not one to be a very, fancy in my descriptions of scores, but I do agree that this did a little something even for me, where it made scenes even better, just by how it had strings, and everything was just well put together. I was in the middle of like a 6 and a 7. I just wasn't sure. This too, I knew I was gonna have to watch this movie again. Like I had to let my thoughts digest after I watched it. I And what's also not fair to the movie though is I watched it with Matt, but I watched it right, like I had already been awake for like going on 20 hours when I watched this movie. So I was extremely tired, which is not something you should be doing during this film, because there is like you said, there are a lot that happens, and then there's a lot that doesn't happen. And there's a lot that doesn't happen in this. It's a little bit of a chore to get through. You've got to have some attention span to watch this. And with all that being said, I mean, I want to say a 6, but I feel like it deserves better. So until I ultimately make up my mind when I watch it a second time, hopefully after having read the poem, I'm gonna just split the difference and say 6.5. But it's a good 6.5. Like I want to own this movie, and I want to watch it again. It's kind of like how I felt about Tenet, like where some things left me like, what? But I still wanted to own this and have this, so that I can go back and just get things that I didn't get the first time. And this is easily the same thing. So when this does come out, I'm like 90% sure that I will own this, because I think this is the least out there A24 film that I will ever be into, because I ain't gonna go into Midsommar, and I've seen the trailer for Lamb. Who knows what that's gonna be? Who knows what that's gonna
gosh. That movie looks nuts. I'm excited.
be? So this is as tame as it's gonna get for me. So I have to get it while I don't go insane here. So 6.5. It's good. Look more towards Ryan and Matt's reviews and mine. I feel like I just wasn't in the best frame of mind while watching it.
No.
That's true. And like we mentioned, or actually we might have said this off camera, but don't go into this movie tired. Please.
Don't go to it
Because
tired.
it can lull you to sleep.
I went into this movie with jet lagged, and I didn't fall asleep. So I'm just kidding. I mean, I see what you mean. I think actually, Alex, I think your review is important too, because we're very three different. We all enjoy different things about these movies sometimes, and sometimes we can agree, but even in this specific case, we're all kind of picking out different things. And
We cover the spectrum.
Good. Yes, and there are definitely those highlights that we all liked and those highlights that we didn't like.
Yeah.
It reminded me also, like, there's a couple weird. There's like one specific casting choice. I don't get it, but like a couple little things like that where I'm like, there's just some choices in this movie I don't get. But I think it's.
There could be some other things that you could be like, I'm not entirely sure what was going on here, but I guess it's in there. Which
Yeah,
we're not gonna talk about for respect of Clint, but
Yes.
yeah, it's a good, beautiful film. Enjoy.
You'll go, what? And then it'll move on without you.
Yeah.
So don't just keep up with it. It'll give you time to keep up with it too, which is odd, but you'll feel like you have to keep up with it.
Right.
It's a good watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've done a good job, because I don't think you're sold on this.
No, I really want to. I still really want to see it. I really do.
And yeah, and you should. And I'm the worst review, and I still say you
Yeah.
definitely should.
It's
Because-
beautiful. It's a beautiful movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I'm Arthurian. Like I love the Arthurian stuff, and I'm kind of intrigued because I don't think I've ever read this poem. I didn't realize it was a poem. To be honest with you,
It's like something
like a
about
Canterbury
like
Tales type poem.
I don't know. If I heard correctly, it was 800.
It's like- yeah, it's
1800
not-
lines.
And you
something
can
like that.
there's a decent synopsis of it on Wiki under Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So
Okay.
Don't read
Pretty
the
easy.
end of it. Actually,
Yeah,
or
don't.
do. I don't know. I don't even know.
no,
what would help. Yeah.
don't read the end of it. Like don't read it at all. And then if you're confused about the ending, go and read about the ending, and then you can
Correct.
understand the
Which-
point that I'm trying to make.
All three
Unless,
of
of course, I'm
question
wrong.
mark.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I would say
Bingo.
just go into it with the knowledge you have in the trailer. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
there's this guy in King Arthur's court, and he's a knight. And then this tree knight, the Green Knight, shows up to challenge him, and then he kills him. And then the Tree Knight says, "Great, meet me in a year where I get to bestow the same thing upon you."
I know, and I
Totally.
have a specific like, and I'm not gonna say, again for Clint's sake, that really stuck to me, and I'm like, that was a well shot and well put together scene. But hopefully soon after Clint
Yes,
watches it,
The
maybe
movie.
maybe this movie will yeah, right. Yeah, to you maybe. But hopefully when this movie comes out soon, I'll have a copy that Clint can borrow, and then we'll be able to talk about this. And,
It is on rent for already.
is it? Oh, then go
Yeah.
rent it.
Yeah,
Well,
that's.
it's
I mean,
20
it's
bucks.
definitely
Oh,
highlight,
then don't
I
go
think-
rent it.
something I think I'd say is like, as much as I didn't enjoy it, like I feel the need to go out and buy this on Blu-ray when it comes out.
Yeah.
Like
Same.
I think I bought Nobody for $4 at Redbox, and I'm like, yeah, I like it, but I really want this to come out so I can spend $15 on it for no reason.
Right.
I have that somewhere.
All right.
Okay.
Next.
So 3 of us watched Old, right? Matt, you didn't
Nice.
see Old.
I
yet.
I
Didn't.
saw it.
Okay, so let's spoiler free this. I'm gonna go real quickly with this. I hated this movie. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna like try and sugarcoat this. This was probably like I watched this with Alex, and we watched Snake Eyes and Old, and I think we watched Old first.
Correct,
forgot
we
Snake
did.
Eyes.
I'm glad that I watched Old first because I probably would have fallen asleep. I didn't care for the story. Like I didn't care about any of these characters. Like none of them like were really kind of likable, except for and it's not a racial thing, but it was like the black guy, because he was just kind of like on the beach and he's just kind of like this victim of something that was happening, and he just was kind of in the background. He was the only one. All these people are kind of like not very good people. So I really didn't care. And it was an hour and 40 minutes of just like nothing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. This we gotta be careful with M. Night these days. I mean, he's got that name, but more often than not, man, these
He hits like 50-50.
Oh, yeah.
60.
No.
30-70 maybe.
You got like
Matt.
4 good movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, Glass sucked. That also too, Ryan, we've talked about this. Like, good. You're selling me, and ending, and I hate this movie.
Yeah, that's
That-
well, no, yeah.
No, not for Old. I'm talking about Glass. No,
Oh,
this Old was just weird all the way through, and not that interesting. Like the premise is interesting, but the execution is not. And then I won't say it, but the ending that is so generic in my opinion. It's
An M Night ending.
You know what? I actually disagree with that. Like
I
think
do too.
It's so tame that I think it's just nothing. It's
Dang it, I want to fight you guys on this, but I can't spoil it.
Hold on. I'll just
okay. Matt's mute. Don't listen
So-
to us. Okay,
Okay.
Matt's left. Okay, he's back.
Here's my
Okay,
argument. And this is also coming. I'm not trying to argue.
Spoilers for
I feel
Old.
like I'm playing.
Spoilers for Old.
I have since bumped my rating down from a 6 to a 5 because of how much I don't like the ending. I feel like all of the worst M. Night films and some of the best, I feel like he writes his ending and then comes up with the movie backwards.
Mhm.
And that's what it felt like here, where it was like, here's what I want to do. I want a movie about this. And then he doesn't know how to do that. And
Mhm.
even movies that I think are decent movies, like I think Signs is fine, but it
I like
feels like
Signs.
the whole thing is like he wanted to do the glasses of water. So the girl puts glasses of water everywhere. Who cares? What does that mean? Okay, we have to have all the characters have to be important. So he's got the baseball bat. Like, oh, and this felt like that, where it was like we have to write all this stuff in, and we have to justify how all these people ended up, and then go back and do it, and it just doesn't work. So
Yeah.
maybe you guys are going to say the same thing, but in a positive way, because I think similarly, it also doesn't feel like an M Night ending because M Night has some good twists in there, but
Yeah.
I feel like even The Sixth Sense, which is a great movie, is just building up to its ending.
Right.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But see, my problem with it, and I completely agree with you actually, is that it does feel like he was like, okay, this is what the ending's gonna be. Now let's work towards this. And it's like it didn't feel like a payoff. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just certain aspects of this movie, and like we're spoiling this movie, but it's like like the one kid getting pregnant. Like they're supposed to be have the mentality of a 6-year-old. Why are we doing this at 6? Like that just doesn't feel like natural to me. And it's just like I said, I didn't care about any of these characters. It was like Rufus Sewell is like he's a jerk from get-go, and it's like he doesn't
Mhm.
redeem himself anywhere point in this movie. Like the 3 kids that they actually bring onto this beach are sympathetic, but because of
Mildly.
yeah, mildly, but because of their intelligence level, they're kind of retarded. Sorry, they're kind of stupid. And it's just like I can't feel like good for them or bad for them because it's like they didn't like they didn't do one thing and like level it out with another, if that makes sense. Like if you're gonna have them be mature enough or like intelligent enough to get pregnant in this movie, why couldn't we be intelligent enough to find a way off this beach later? You see what I'm saying? And then it's like the parents are getting divorced, but it doesn't really say why they're getting divorced or like kind of like give the reason. Like he's not a jerk. Like, what's his name?
The husband. Let's just
Yeah,
call him the
I
husband.
can't. Yeah, the Spanish actor. Like he's not a
Oh,
jerk.
I forget.
Yeah, so he's not. It's like in most movies, it's like if they're getting divorced, one's like abusive in a broad sense, and then like the other is like trying to get away, and they're just there for the kids or whatever. But he seems like he's like a decent dad, and she seems like a decent person. So it's not like I can be mad at him for them getting divorced, and but she's divorcing him for reasons that are not really explained
It's just
very
like
well.
the math is not adding up.
Yeah, and it's just like, and then again, it's not to be like racial or anything, but like the black guy is there, um, and, but he doesn't age.
Yeah, he's
That was
been
the
there
only
for.
yeah, he was there on that beach like 12 hours before the rest of them, but he doesn't start to age until the others start to get there. And it was like, okay, well, wait a minute. Why is he not aging as quickly? Shouldn't he be dead by the timeline that they've set up with this movie? He should have been dead already.
It's so you could have more conflict.
Right.
You know
Yeah,
what's
I agree.
Yeah, what's funny about that too is, and it's one thing I will both praise and condemn. The makeup and hairstyling, that's a ton of work to ask if you're a makeup and hairstyling crew. And for the most part, even though it's inconsistent and not always prevalent, they do an amazing job. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
the people who are doing it. But like I feel like they were like, oh, we've only ever done white people, so we don't know how to make an African American actor look older. So
Right.
they just kind of put lines on his forehead every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
sure,
remember. I remember you talking about that when we all had like freshly seen the movie, and I agree with that. I was like, yeah, you don't think about it because they do it so well from scene to scene or age to age, if you will. They do it seamlessly.
Yeah.
So I
for
will
the
say
most
that.
part.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, for the
Yeah,
most part,
yeah.
it's not totally unnoticed,
Yeah,
but
I
for the
mean, if
most
they
part, yeah.
if they pull an Oscar nomination, I'm all for it.
Right.
And I mean, like, talked about a couple movies that deserve Oscar nominations, but like, there's so much. It's like the quantity of work beats the quality of work. I think a little bit.
Right.
That makes sense.
My issues with this movie were two things. I love films that obviously are not scientifically accurate, but shade enough they sound scientifically accurate. Like, okay, Martian is one of the best examples I can think of, and Interstellar. Like, obviously, all of that stuff is not possible, but they put foundations in where it feels like it should be possible, if that makes sense. This movie, why are we aging on this beach? Well, the rock and minerals are, somehow reacting to the Earth's magnetism and its core, and that's why it's, aging. And I'm like, that doesn't even sound like you even tried. That just sounds like we said, hey, just say a bunch of science jargon, and okay, we're gonna pass it off in our screenplay. The other issue, and this is what kind of brought us into kicking Matt out for a second, is I think the ending, which obviously we're in spoiler, and Matt's back. No,
it's my fault. We haven't spoiled anything so far, so I texted him that he could come back. And
okay,
then
never mind.
Talking about spoilers.
Then I guess I won't.
I don't have that
Count
long
to
anyway.
60.
My battery's almost dead because I can't find the right headphones. So let's do this quick. Also, I brought this.
Oh man, what is that? Pray tell.
I don't have the will to live anymore.
It's okay. Just brought that
Beautiful.
All right.
All right. So let's do this quick. 15 minutes. Shoot. Go. Just kidding.
So I was just finishing where again, man, I was about to get in spoiler too. The ending is generic and I don't like it. And yeah, so Matt, watch this horrible movie and then we can all trade notes again.
And
okay,
Clint, I think the only other thing I would add, and you and I had debated this earlier, and I think in the sake of trying not to continue debate, I think we both have some points. For the most part, I like the performances in this movie, but from time to time, the actors can live up to the very insane things they're being asked to comprehend. You guys, and there are times where they're either not able to really pull off the range of things they're given, or they're given just really bad dialogue. And Alex, like you said, sometimes it's just like, we need to talk about why this is happening, so let's just let them read the script. That's something I found in almost every M. Night Shyamalan film. He should really grow out of it by now, but it's okay.
Yeah, that's Clint. Did you not say that immediately after we watched the movie? You were like, from scene to scene, it looks so choppy, like they were given their script as that scene was happening. Yeah, I thought that too. It all didn't match up well.
All right, end of story, guys. Here's the conclusion. I haven't listened to anything you're going to say. Elephant in the room is M. Night's not a good script writer anyway. He's technically a good idea maker every now and then who can come up with clever things and try to convey them in a script. But he's not a good screenwriter at all. The dialogue in all his films more or less suck. And they're only carried by the performances, i.e. Split. So,
yeah.
Unbreakable, yeah. So that's it. Done.
Yeah. Review.
Okay, so next up would be Snake Eyes. Ryan
I forgot we had to talk about Snake Eyes.
I've been gone for so long. I got time to rest. So here's my long-winded Snake Eyes. Yeah, it's like a 3 out of 10 for me. It was super boring. Nothing really worked. I don't know why this got made. It probably should go back. And are there worse things? Absolutely. Are there better things? Absolutely. But yeah, I'm never going to watch this again. I'm good. Thanks. Bye.
With a 4 instead of a 3.
Look, okay. First of all, I'm going to expand on what Matt said because I want to get this point out. No, we did not need this movie. I don't understand it. I never understood why we were going to make a full-length 2-hour some change movie about a guy who's mute. I never understood it. Didn't get it. Okay. Secondly, this isn't a G.I. Joe movie. They were like, oh, he's Snake Eyes. Maybe we should show some sort of G.I. Joe thing in here. And then so enters Samara Weaving as Scarlett. She felt so forced into this movie that it was just like, hey, here she is. She's a badass. She can kick some ass. And then she's gone. And then she's like, oh wait, it's still a GI Joe movie. We need to bring Samara Weaving back. Hey Samara, come over here. And then they put her into the climax of this movie for no apparent reason. None whatsoever. She didn't need to be there. It would have been a better movie, and it's still kind of like this GI Joe-esque if they would have left Joe out of it and just kept it as a Cobra movie. You know what I'm saying? Like they just like they shoved her in there just to make sure that we knew that it was a GI Joe movie.
My favorite part was that the movie's named Snake Eyes, and then like one of the big set pieces are like two giant snakes. That's my favorite part. Because, you know, he's Snake Eyes, and of course, snakes.
Oh. I actually didn't put that together in my head.
Oh, wow.
It's
I didn't
funny.
care enough.
Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I didn't care enough to put that together in my head. I think I fell asleep at one point.
Yeah, right. No, it's funny you say that. Shoot, I just lost my thought. Dang it. No, I got it back. You were talking about how, or we had talked about this after we'd recently watched a movie where you're like, geez, what's the what's his counterpart's name? Like his opposition.
Storm Shadow.
Yeah, like he has a name. He has a name, and everybody calls him by that. And then and Snake Eyes, they just literally keep calling him Snake Eyes. Like, you have a name, don't you? No, I'm not gonna keep calling you Snake Eyes. What the heck?
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny. I was like, I thought the same thing. I think I'm actually the best review out of all of us. At the time, I was like, it's a 6 because if I have nothing else to go on, because I'm not a GI Joe guy, it's an okay movie. Albeit it is generic. It's generic as crap because I remember us going, yeah, I could have watched this movie, and I did. It was called Black Widow. I think what kept me like, and before I even get into the good part, that camera work, especially at the beginning, is so shaky. Oh man, look, I'm watching Snake Eyes. Oh my gosh, I can totally see everything that's happening.
Can I butt in?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I agree with you. I came to this movie for one reason, and it was competent action sequences, and it didn't even deliver on that. Like,
it was so bad.
2005.
Yeah, it was like that. He's in that prison scene, and like I can barely make out what's happening. I'm just like, oh man, he's totally getting like chain whipped. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. I really wish the camera would stop moving around so I could see it.
I have no idea what scene you're talking about, so I definitely.
Oh, it's like the opening, like after that the flashback scene. It's like when he's like, present day, I'm in jail and I'm fighting tough guys for money.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Oh, yes, that was a bad scene.
Yeah. And then like immediately afterwards, he's fighting with, or there's those, I forget, Storm Shadow, like whatever his actual name is, and all these other Asian mobster guys, and they're all fighting, and they got swords and guns and everything, and the camera's still shaking like nobody's business. Oh my gosh. I will say that it, at least in my opinion, it leveled off by the halfway point. But this is where I was ultimately going. I think what kept me from saying that this was like a suck movie was, and I don't know why, I think it's, and this is actually not the purpose of the movie ultimately, is like it has a lot of these Japanese tie-ins with culture, and I don't know why. I kept thinking this is maybe what Mortal Kombat at least should have been more like. So I kept thinking, if Mortal Kombat was a little bit more like this, I would have enjoyed that movie more. But that still doesn't excuse this movie from being the way it is. So maybe I should just knock it down a 5, because this doesn't deserve a fresh. Although I was entertained for a while, albeit generically. Henry Golding is okay in this. He's fine. Like, he's not bad, but it's just like, all right, throw this one out the window. This is easily not your best.
No.
We're not going to remember you for this. So 5 out of 10 officially. There's, like Matt said, there's way worse movies, but there's way better movies. This is on the lower tier of all the things we've watched.
I want to end this conversation, but I have to throw out this maybe hot take. I would rather watch Mortal Kombat like 5 more times than watch this movie again.
And you hated that.
Yeah.
I'd rather just hit myself in the head with something. I don't like
How
either of those movies.
how about
I
that
also had to
camera?
watch.
How about
Ah.
that camera?
We rewatched Mortal Kombat not by choice this last week and a half, and I don't think that's much better than this. But
Aged well.
both of them have the same. We need to put the character's name in, so we're just gonna have this character rename themselves this cheesy name. Can you guys imagine if I was just like, guys, I'm no longer Ryan. Call me Jungle Lord. What the heck would that mean? And I'm like, yeah, because he's Storm Shadow in the cartoon. He's got to just choose that his name is Storm Shadow. What the heck?
Ryan, was your father killed by a jungle lord? Then it would have made sense.
Listen, I get
father?
it. My whole point is Jungle Lord is that at least the Mortal Kombat movie stays on brand at least more than this fake G.I. Joe movie. And that's all that I'm saying. So just for that, it makes it more entertaining.
I just bring back the naming Han Solo forcibly now. Instead of my name is Sub-Zero now. Cool. Thanks for telling me that, bro. Go do your job.
Yeah.
They call me Sub-Zero. No, man, I'm good.
I'm going to call you Andy.
Shut up, Bihan.
Hey, Andy. I'm Sub-Zero. I don't think that fits you, Andy.
We got Jungle Lord over here trying to make jokes.
I made that off the top of my head, so that's what it must be like to be all the other people listening to this guy make up his name for the first time.
Look, Alex, you said something.
Oh man, that's funny.
You said something that
first
like
for a second.
Oh, am I back? Hello.
Hold on.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, okay, now you're good.
Okay.
You froze on us and now you're back.
Yeah.
Okay. So Alex, you said something earlier that like about Henry Golding. No, he's not the problem with this movie. Okay. My problem with Henry Golding is, and I think this is more of a directional or like a story thing, is that Henry Golding's very British. Okay. I don't know why he needs an American accent in this movie. Okay. So first, because like I said at the top of this, the whole thing is that he's a mute. Snake Eyes is a mute character. Like throughout the whole thing, he's a very mute character. So if we're gonna give him a voice, why not just give Henry Golding his natural voice? If he's British, he's British. Like, what is the deal with this?
They should have just had him like be quiet the whole movie and just had subtitles appear underneath of him and have all the other characters just understand what was going on.
Right.
And just respond.
But British people can't be Joes, only Americans can.
I mean, that's where my thought was going. Yeah.
Look, I'm a producer now.
Yeah. Anyway, our last review.
Henry's. What? Okay.
G.I. Henry's.
So the last review for the night is going to be The Suicide Squad.
Sorry.
With Jared Leto?
No.
Oh man, I love Jared Leto.
What's funny is that I think I'm going to be the best review out of all this. I adored this movie. I don't care what you three say. I was like, yes, this is what the Suicide Squad needs to be. This is like the most James Gunn movie that I probably watched since Slither. This is probably what Guardians of the Galaxy probably should have been. Yeah, I liked all these characters. I was kind of like, let's spoil this movie because it's been out for a month. The deaths at the beginning, I was still kind of shocked by. I'm still kind of shocked that Harley kind of walked out of that. Not gonna lie. And I think, speaking of Harley, I think that James Gunn did the best job of actually using that character outside of her box. Like doing the Birds of Prey Harley Quinn movie, that's probably the most Harley that you're gonna get. But I think James Gunn did her a lot of justice with that character, especially the scene with the president of that little the Carlton Martise, because it's probably the most Harley Quinn thing that probably could have happened from Harley Quinn. Idris Elba did a great job. John Cena was kind of surprising since he's not a very good actor, but I was really intrigued with his character throughout. Joel Kinnaman did a great job again as Rick Flag. He was one of the best things that came out of the David Ayer version. And the Ratcatcher, I can't even remember her name. Ratcatcher 2, I can't remember the actress's name, but I think she did I think that she did a really good job because I think she was the heart of this movie, like the soul of this movie, um, the sympathetic part of this movie. So I gave this about an 8.5. I'm not going to go completely over because I think that you could tell at some points they kind of held back on like some stuff, especially like in the climax. They held back a lot with some of the stuff that they could do. But yeah, 8.5.
All right. Well, in case I die at some point during this video and me die as in this iPad shuts off, I am going to do this rather quickly and hopefully not long-winded, just like last time. I agree sort of with Clint. I'm not as high on this movie as he is. I don't hate this movie. My biggest disappointment was the opening segment that you mentioned where, that whole crew gets, obliterated. I was hoping that kind of stuff would have been saved for like more throughout the movie. And I thought it was almost a little cop out that they did it right at the beginning. Like, I understand why for casting purposes that you have to like get that stuff out of the way. It's kind of hard to hold on for a whole shoot and drag that out story wise. And I just thought it was just a little bit of a cop out. Like, I'm like, my whole biggest thing with the first Suicide Squad movie is like, just let one dude more or less dies during the film. And it's not even.
You mean Slipknot, the guy who can climb anything?
Yeah. And it's just because he's trying to leave. Like, this is kind of what I wanted to see. I just would have liked to have seen it like scattered throughout the movie and not like some attention grabber right at the beginning. That's all. I'm not as high on the Harley Quinn stuff. I'm not like a huge Harley Quinn fan. Like, I'm not into like the whole lore or anything. I thought it was a little much. I thought it was too much in this movie. I do like I will say I did enjoy Joel Kinnaman in this. I thought that James Gunn improved that character tremendously. I thought he gave him a lot more to do, and I really appreciated that. Another gripe I had with this movie was whatever that King Shark guy's name, Unagi. I don't know what his name is.
Nanawi?
Nanawi. Literally
I think
does
Unagi
not need
is
to,
a sushi.
It is. It's like an eel. But literally, like literally, his character doesn't do anything in this movie except comic relief. Like, I don't even think he contributes to any point of the plot whatsoever, and that just kind of bugged me a little bit. Like, literally, I don't think he does anything. You take him out of this movie, and it's the same movie, except less comedic spots. Some of the set pieces were good, especially towards the beginning. I just don't think this film really, and I say it again, stuck the landing like I really kind of hoped it would. I kind of wish they all died, honestly, or maybe just one. I think that might have been my perfect ending to this film. But yeah, that said, 6 out of 10. I'm not going to go up to a 7. It had your typical James Gunn stuffs, but I wasn't blown out of the water per se. But I did enjoy it. So 6 out of 10. Done.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like this was, and I think I'll stand alone in this thought. There's a lateral move, honestly, between the 2016 version and this one, and for different reasons. Like, there's goods and bads of both. Like, I think this is more like, if I had to pick one to exist as the sole one, it'd be this one. Like, I was expecting comedy. Like, I remember watching the trailer, and Clinton talked about John Cena. Like, there was one moment where John Cena's like doing his funny thing, and I'm like, all right, this legitimately has me looking forward to this movie. Like, if this is sprinkled all throughout the movie, I'm game. And I mean, there were some funny parts for sure. Like, that's the whole point. But I just kind of felt underwhelmed by it. And goodbye, Matt. We loved you. Rip. He just didn't want to hear me any longer ripping on this movie. He held out his on.
Is there unexpected character death in the middle of our Suicide Squad review?
Right.
Oh, there's the perfect ending. But anyway,
one character should die. It was him.
But anyway, I just felt underwhelmed by both. Like, so I was expecting this movie to be funnier than it was, and people said it was like, man, it's super gory. It makes, I don't know, whatever else movie look like, child's play. Not to actually say child's play the movie, but like, there you go. There's a movie pun. But I just again felt underwhelmed by what I was seeing. Like, sure, there were like, oh man, a head exploded. Oh man, somebody got ripped apart. I don't know. Maybe I'm just desensitized by more and more things coming out these days. But maybe not, because we've talked about Don't Breathe earlier tonight, or at least I did, and I did not even mention that um, there are some parts where people have to basically put themselves back together, be it like, liquid glue, or not liquid glue, bandage glue and stuff like that. And it's like, ugh, I felt myself do that a couple times in that movie. I did not really feel that way at all about this. Like, I did not go, "Ooh, man, that just happened." I'm like, yeah, whatever. That just felt kind of like came with the territory, and I was not thrilled about it. Nanawi, I think, is actually my favorite character. He's kind of like everybody's pet dog, because towards the end of the movie, his life was on the line. Like, it was like, oh, he's gonna be the one to die, and I legitimately was like, no, he's the best character. Like, he's so fun. And speaking of him, I did not even know this until I got home and was reading an article about how Nanawi, or at least this one was, very modeled to be for Sylvester Stallone. And I was like, wait, what? And I look back at the cast and I'm like, Sylvester Stallone. And I'm like, so I went back and looked up a couple of scenes and I'm like, oh, it really is him. So kudos on Sylvester Stallone sounding like Sylvester Stallone, but not enough where I'm distracted by it, because
Not enough that it's Rocky.
exactly. It was literally him going, happened. Oh, that's funny. And I'm just like, oh, so kudos to him on fooling me, because I had no idea. And it didn't sound like him until I started listening for it. James Gunn's good. Like, this is a very him movie. Harley Quinn, I think, is more effective in this movie because she's not called upon, and that's like a good thing. Like, she doesn't have to do the heavy lifting. Like, she's a good complementary piece. With that being said, I think Harley Quinn is used very, very weird in these movies. She's in Suicide Squad 1. She's in Birds of Prey. She's in Suicide Squad 2. And I'm like, I just, like, it's odd. Like, I don't know if this is how this character is supposed to be used. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not the comic book nerd here. It's
Not
just
pointing
odd.
fingers at all.
Yeah, I know. I'm not the comic book here, Clint. But it's, again, it's fine. I'm just not the one to nitpick on it. So the ending is fine. The movie's overall fine. I think it's interesting how they made the first movie like still existent. Like, we call upon this movie to reference as we see fit, but we're going to do it as little as we can, so then we can forget that it existed, or we can forget about the mediocrity of this and just focus on the core story that we were trying to tell before, and to keep continuing. So it's kind of like a soft reboot. Like, it's basically the same movie over, but it's a continuation. It's kind of like God of War, where it's still the same people, it's still the same story continuation, but they're just redoing it over, if that makes sense. So that's how I see this. Like I said, it was a lot of remove. I gave the first one from 16 a 6. I'm giving this one a 6. I felt no more entertainment than I did out of that one, and I thought the other one was fine. So overall, fine, not great.
I don't totally disagree with you. I gave the first one initially an 8, then a 7, then a 6, then a 5. I saw it twice in theaters just to get the handle of why people didn't like it, and I really got it the second time. So, no, actually, I think I skipped 7. I think it took it from an 8 to a 6 to a 5. Because I was like, oh, that movie was a lot of fun, and I was like, oh, that's the worst edited movie I've ever seen. And at least the editing in this one's competent, so it's better. I don't know. I feel a lot of the same way as Matt and Alex did, and my nitpicks, I feel like this is an odd movie, because I feel like it's not things that I think the movie could do better. It's just things I didn't like about the movie. And that's how I felt for almost everything in it, where I'm like, oh yeah, I can definitely see why they did this opening. but I miss this character. I was like, I didn't want Captain Boomerang to die, and that's what he wants me to feel. We're in spoilers, right? We
Yeah.
said that.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
for sure.
Because that was like that was really bold, but I didn't like it. It was like my favorite thing from the 2016 one. So it's like all these things in this movie. I'm being broad because it felt like that for a lot of these things. Where I'm like, I get it, and I don't like it, but I get why people would. So like that's a bold choice. I just didn't like that choice because I liked that character to the point where I didn't want to see them lose probably my favorite character from the 2016 film. Like, who would have thought that the guy with boomerangs would be really good for contributing? Anyway, really important for, stuff like that. And it's not, I'm not trying to say too many nice things about the 2016 one. There are things that it did well, and this movie takes those and runs with it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Including the story, which might be a little too similar, but it's okay. Because I think I nitpicked a little bit when I was writing my actual review comparing these two movies, and I was like, they even have like the same cast basically. But there's definitely good things in it. I laughed a good bit. It's a little too desaturated for me, but I get it. My biggest problems with it were just when everything gets resolved, where the whole finale. I like how bold I guess I'm still keeping some things kind of vague. I like the bold direction they went with the story, and I'm not sure how else I would resolve that if I were writing this story with a giant starfish being the antagonist. So that was great. But it was a really easy solution. I'm not really sure the heart of the movie paid off. I've heard that. Again, this is something I think might just be me because critics love it, and I've heard again and again and again that Ratcatcher 2 and then King Shark are like the heart of that movie. I didn't really feel like that movie had much of a heart in the first place. Everyone just had daddy issues, and she was just a little bit more sympathetic. And I mean, like, it's not bad. I think the movie ended up focusing a lot on the characters as individuals instead of like the Suicide Squad as a team, which is a very different direction. And it's fine because the 2016 movie did that, succeeded, and then way overshot and was like, oh, I'm gonna die with my family. And I'm like, you guys are not family, you met today. And this doesn't really try for that. So I guess I applaud that it's not trying to do the same thing. But at the same time, I'm not sure it gets much of anywhere with a lot of it because in the end, only two of the characters mattered for beating the giant starfish. And I'm like, Harley is just doing her own thing the whole time. So I was entertained by it, but at the same time, her dynamic with the group was one of my favorite things about the first movie. So, and we already saw her in a solo movie. So I'm like, I enjoyed her action sequences, but I didn't enjoy that she. So it's like I enjoyed the things they did with the direction, but I would change the direction overall. Does that make sense?
Sort of.
Yeah.
So,
I can kind of see what you mean. Yeah.
The movie exists. I don't necessarily like all the choices that were made. I enjoyed the final results enough to not hate the choices overall, but I would do them differently, and I think I would get more enjoyment out of them. But if I did it, I might make it too close to the 2016 one for people who hated that. So I don't know. I just didn't feel that connected to the movie at all. It might have been high expectations or the fact that we had to get rid of our entire cast at the beginning of the movie and then settle in with a new one. I feel like that could have been bolder. I also really, really liked the character Polka Dot Man. I thought that was a really great character. I felt like more attached to that character than a lot of the others because he was just kind of stood out more than the rest. And the movie just kind of throws him away. So
yeah,
Yeah.
I will agree that they did him pretty well because if I read correctly, that Polka Dot Man is like one of the most obscure characters in DC lore, and to
Yeah.
take him and make him I don't know if I'd say a fan favorite, but at least a well looked at character, then kudos to them.
Well, it's a lot like I told Amy. I think that James Gunn has an amazing way about him taking characters, obscure characters, i.e., the Guardians of the Galaxy, and making them relevant. He has it's an immaculate job of doing that because it's like with Guardians of the Galaxy, they like that whole thing was like such an obscure kind of background D-list, almost like a D-list kind of characters in the Marvel like universe. And so when like they said that the guard, like I even had to remember who the hell the Guardians of the Galaxy were when they announced this movie. I was like, why? What? Okay.
Yeah.
So when he took like, I knew that when they said that he was going to direct Suicide Squad, I had a feeling that he was going to take some very random characters. Um, and there are points that like what you were saying, Ryan, that I do agree with. I do think that like trying to settle in with this new team and eliminating like that whole team in the very beginning is a little jarring. I get that. And I think that it, like you said, in a better direction, I think I would just start with a new team instead of just like seeing, look at many characters I can kill in the first 5 minutes. I understand that. Um, I think that, yeah, it's like Jai Courtney was probably one of the brighter lights in the first Suicide Squad. And I think that he would have had a great dynamic with John Cena, because his character Peacemaker thinks that he's a good guy doing bad things to be good, and so having a bad guy doing bad things because he knows he's a bad guy and playing off of that, I think would have been amazing. Um, and with like, I think Starro again was like a really bold choice to like have as their main villain. Um, because he is intergalactic. He is like huge. Like he's Justice League's type like villain, and to have him go against a bunch of nobodies is a very bold choice, and it does work to a point. So yeah, I do agree with a lot of what you said.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, I give it a 6, but I would say honestly, like it's a bit of a high 6 for me, because throughout the movie, the choices that worked, I really enjoyed. There was a lot, I didn't love all of the opening, but I love some of the jokes. Like no one did the research. Of course, weasels can't swim.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a running. But that was a really really funny way to introduce how we're doing the comedy in the movie. And there are jokes like that throughout the whole movie that I thought were great. The one guy, I even caught him because I was like, why is the van driver going with them? And then he's with them, and no one points it out, and no one points it out, and that leads to like one of the funniest back and forth bits in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And I was just busting up that whole time. The setup and payoff for those jokes are really great.
Mm-hmm.
There's the jokes about Polka Dot seeing his mother everywhere, and then it's the giant. Like there's some really great payoffs. There's some really great jokes. I liked the kind of out of order Guy Ritchie sequence. That was a little unexpected, but I thought it worked really well. And that whole resolution to that side story that admittedly comes out of nowhere, but it feels very like Watchmen-esque, where you've got like now your characters pitted against each other. I thought that was an interesting dynamic that was thrown in. I don't think it was that surprising. John Cena's character is not exactly a likable character, and so I did enjoy it. So I wasn't trying to be kind of too harsh on it. It's just something about it just made me not feel the desire to watch it more than twice. So I'll watch it again sometime. But that said, I did feel that way about the original, and then some more negatives to it. So it definitely improves. And it also has good editing. Probably some of the best jokes in the DCU. Harley Quinn has probably the best fight scene in the DCEU. I got to think carefully before one of the best fight scenes in the DCEU. So I mean, there's enjoyment to be had. It's just I didn't enjoy it as much as it probably is worth.
Right.
Also, I don't care about the DC movies that much, so that might have been part of it. Where I'm like, the maximum enjoyment I've had from DC movie is still only an 8.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's my only 8 in the DCEU actually. And the only DCEU movie I own.
Wow.
So it's just, yeah, it's a fine movie. It's okay.
I feel so bad for DC.
I know.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
Yeah. Like retrospectively, it just makes me wish that when we first saw the trailer for the 2016 Suicide Squad in summer of 2015, a full year before it came out, that we had gotten that movie and then this movie. And I could imagine following what was advertised to be this weird, dark, gritty movie with some oddball humor and great performances, followed by this, would be really something. And it was just kind of, I mean, this is more of a fault for the 2016 film. It's just kind of disappointing that we had to try to do some of the same things to get a good Suicide Squad movie. Because now I feel like if we get a third one, we can finally do more things. But I feel like we still had to pull a lot of those elements from that movie just to get on to now we can do more with these characters. And then we didn't get to keep half the characters anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably as good as it was going to get.
Yeah, I think that
Maybe.
I personally think that this is probably their pinnacle. Unless Shazam and Black Adam come out of like left field and like completely like hit it out of the park, like this is probably like the top that they're gonna get. And it's weird because it's like I enjoyed Birds of Prey. I know that like Alex didn't care for it as much. I enjoyed it because like I said, Harley Quinn is a Batman character and I like Batman's my thing. So I think that like Margot Robbie does an amazing job with it, down to like even the accent. So like she's probably the one of the most brighter stars out of this. And it's just, I think there's just some bad decisions from Warner Brothers and DC that just kind of like put it into this trajectory. I didn't mind Shazam. I thought Shazam was just big with Zachary Levi, thrown in with some like DC characters. And like Wonder Woman.
Oh, big.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean big? Big. I get it.
Who's coming in here?
I don't know.
This is Alex. Ayo.
Well,
This is
yeah,
probably Matt.
I'm already here. I don't know. That's weird. Kick him out. But anyway, welcome back, Matt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is
Back
going to
for
be
the
super
post-credit scene.
not awkward at all.
We made
I'm
so
doing this
many
on my phone.
jokes about how you said you wished only one character had died in Suicide Squad.
And you were that character.
And you were that character.
Bye.
To
not-
recap, Alex and I
Wait,
were
I-
a bit mixed.
I wanted everybody to die in the movie. What are you talking about?
You said everybody or one person.
Oh, I meant to say everybody, but only leaving one person.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which would be Harley
Yeah.
Quinn.
Which no, they should have only left Idris Elba,
I guess.
It would
You
have been
can't get
Harley
rid of
Quinn,
Margot
though.
Robbie, though.
and then brought Will Smith in the next movie, and they could be like, "What do you do?" And then, "What do you do?" Like, aren't we the same people, but not really the same people because we have different names, but we still have crazy daughters.
There's definitely a
yeah.
version of the script just written with Deadshot instead of
There has
what's
to
the
be.
new guy's name?
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport.
Also, the names feel very made up, but I'm sure that actually works for Suicide Squad. Like Blackguard. What the heck do you do?
Javelin.
You know what they should have done? He should have had a joke where they bring in Deadshot, but they also bring in a villain called Shot Dead, and then he just gets murdered like really quickly at the beginning. Like, see, I told you that was my name, guys. Of course, you can't say that because he's dead.
Also, Alex, I'm not trying to go back to negatives because, again, I still think I did enjoy it pretty much. You were saying about violence. Yeah, it didn't feel violent, I think, because it felt like it was sometimes just not that violent and people were overhyping it. And then sometimes it was like, oh, we're going to blow a guy's face off with a bullet. Would that destroy somebody's face entirely, or is that just trying to be shocking to the audience because it's the first thing that happens? I felt like a lot of that. I was like, we're just trying to be really, really over the top, which I guess can work, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe because I was braced for the punch and it didn't hit as hard as I thought it would.
Yeah.
You have to be shocking like that at the beginning, though, to put everyone in the seat of, oh, okay, we're doing this now. Anything can happen to any one of these characters.
That's what Mel Gibson said in Hacksaw Ridge, and it was the most violent thing I'd ever seen in my life. I didn't need to see
Great
Pete
movie,
Davids's face just gone with like a bullet.
Yeah.
That was the best part of the movie.
I don't know, but I see what you mean. I feel like I feel like there were a few times where they overdid it, but it's okay. Also, Peter Capaldi, great performance. I guess he's not coming back. Like I feel like they have a lot of potential that they just kind of wrote off, which I get it because you're Suicide Squad. Like half your people wouldn't make it to the movie, but it's just kind of sad that we're not going to see them again.
Well,
It's not Marvel.
yeah, I have to kind of interject with this because let's face it, I think this was probably the best way to kind of like appease like comic book nerds, because if you start to have like if DC does crossing fingers like actually becomes successful, you know that comic book nerds like myself, I know it's kind of funny, but if they do become successful, you're gonna have comic books like nerds like me going, hey, what about this guy? Why can't we have this guy in the movie? Why can't we have this random guy in the movie? This way you can't, because we killed him already.
Yeah, right. All right, next in line. Push
Exactly.
off. Push.
I guess that is very fair. That is very fair because I'm not sure you can fit more of these characters in unless we do Suicide Squad 3. And then
Yeah.
we see what happens to those characters that get crossed over. Everyone but Harley Quinn dies.
Mhm. Yeah, you can't kill Harley.
Can't kill Harley.
All right.
I mean, you can kill Harley.
But
And
do
it
you
would
want
be-
to?
It has to happen. It's just going to be a while. They've got to get the Joker situation sorted out first.
Yes. It's gonna be The Rock.
oh Jesus.
I hate you just as a person.
No. He's gonna come back and he's gonna be like, guys, I'm Bane, The Rock Johnson.
Please.
I
Or
think I
John,
just
right?
Because he's already Black Adam, so.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you.
Yeah, but you know.
And Dave Bautista apparently wants to be Bane.
Oh,
Sure.
okay.
Because he was
Yeah.
born in the dark.
Yeah. Oh, don't sue me.
Yeah, right. It was all Alex.
You look like a Matt. You look like a close-up flashback for someone whose like husband died, and it's their motivation. But they keep seeing him every time they're unconscious,
That's what I feel like. I feel like I should say something like important to you.
but not relevant, just important,
Yeah.
like emotionally important.
Like, hey, Jeannie. All right, now you found that box in the basement. Here's what you need to do with it.
I can't turn. The sad thing is, I can't turn off the. I don't think I
Blur.
can turn off the blur in the back without ending the thing because it's definitely not under my settings.
So that's funny.
I don't think so. Nope.
Oh man, it's Dune. Giant worm finger.
I want to see Dune.
Ryan, you need to come back so we can all watch it together.
Ryan, no one's gonna see Dune. Didn't you see what Reminiscence did at the box office?
Not talking.
It's like, oh, I gotta go now, guys.
No one's gonna see it. It's gonna be the greatest movie ever, and I'm just gonna hate movies. And
You realize
Hollywood.
there is some like Warner Bros. Or like HBO exec who has said this right now. They're like, "Oh man, did you see the box office for Reminiscence? This is the same thing we're doing to Dune. Do you think it's going to be the same?"
Don't know.
I'm not putting that juju out there. I'm just saying.
I mean, Chloe Zhao already did.
Yeah.
She was like, everyone should go see this. And I'm like, you're only saying that because you feel like you have to say that. Because no one's going to go see it. And it's already coming out like in a really crowded month.
Well, it brings up the
It's
question.
an odd month.
You know, I mean, we did mention Venom just moving and, you know, them taking off Clifford. It's like, are more things going to get pushed back anymore within the next 2 months or so?
I think everyone's
that-
looking at. Oh, good.
No, I was going to say, and then we've got, you know, Spider-Man as our holiday anchor and what's going to happen with that. And if people are just going to chill out with Spider-Man for Christmas.
I think everyone's probably looking at
Okay.
Shang-Chi and seeing how well it's going to perform because it's not getting a Disney Plus release. It's the next big blockbuster because I don't think I don't think everyone's holding their breath for Candyman, even though it's got the weekend.
No.
And so I think having pre-sales already out, they're not going to pull it. They're not going to. When Mulan had like pre-sales because I think we had tickets for it.
We did, yeah.
But that was like a very sudden, like the world is closing. This is like we're going to put it out in theaters, and I think a lot of movies are going to kind of see like, oh well, Marvel can hold on to that one, so people obviously still want to see it. There was just nothing else to see this weekend because I mean we had 4 opening movies. Paw Patrol obviously had a good target audience, but the other movies had like no marketing and not a lot of interest. You know, Reminiscence had an HBO Max release, so everyone who wasn't sure could watch it. No one wanted to see Protege. No one knew what Night House was about.
Yeah, Protege looked like it should have been straight to Redbox anyway. I don't even know what it was doing getting a theatrical release. And Paw Patrol though was actually also on Paramount Plus though, so
Wow.
it'll be interesting to see if that takes it what is now traditional streaming to second week 70%, 65% dip. So I can say that the Sunday and Monday and Tuesday crowds were not as popular as those Friday and Saturday crowds. And I'm even saying Tuesday wasn't as popular as the Friday and Saturday crowd. So we shall see.
Yeah. That's I didn't realize too. I guess it's like not quite back to school yet, but we're getting close to back to school. It's almost a bold release date for Paw Patrol. But it seemed like a really good time for it.
Yeah, I feel like they probably could have moved up a week, and I think they were trying to go for the last minute right before school kids take care. We were getting a lot of parents that were taking their kids to their legit first movie. Like I heard that a lot. Like I'm at least probably 20 times over this weekend that it was kids like, and this is the ones that I heard with parents taking their kids to their first movie. So now they have that fond memory of seeing Paw Patrol in the theaters for their first time.
That's pretty adorable.
And Ryan probably doesn't even remember his first movie.
No, I don't. I remember my first R movie, but not my first movie. Prometheus.
E.T.
Gladiator.
You said oh, your E.T. first movie. I thought you said the first R movie was E.T. and I'm like,
my first
That's pretty scary, man.
I recall mine was my first movie was An American Tail. So that puts me pretty old. Not as old as Clint though.
Oh, I don't remember my first movie, but I remember my first R movie was.
I think my first R movie was Bride of Chucky. I feel like
Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah.
I was born that year.
Which did you?
And your old arrow just shot.
I've got to remember my first movie. I'm sure I can remember it. But
Shameless plug-in though. Not really shameless plug-in, but did you guys hear that they actually cast the 2 leads for Interview with a Vampire?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited. Game of Thrones fans, it's actually Worm. Is that his name?
Yeah.
He's Louis. And
shouldn't they have just cast the same people?
No,
I mean, vampires don't age.
Tom Cruise doesn't, so.
Another like really quick. Did you guys see that they released the subtitle for The Matrix 4 now?
I saw that you shared that, but I didn't glance into it. Detail.
Where is it? I want to get this right because
I don't know if it's got an S at the end of it or not. I know what it is, but I don't know if it's plural or not.
It is plural.
Matrix Reloaded.
You said it is plural?
Mm-hmm.
Revisions, revised, reprisals,
resurrections.
We're bringing it back. I was really hoping they were going to just go with rebooted.
Resurrections.
Like, all right. I mean, it's not a bad title. I don't think it's a bad title.
But we got The Matrix, Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Revolutions, and now Matrix Resurrections.
Matrix Reeves.
They should have, or they could have been like Matrix Reloaded did.
I don't think they would have done that.
Thrice Reloaded.
Or reloaded. There we go.
Yeah.
No.
If we get a director's cut of the
I have, like, you brought up casting news earlier for Interview with a Vampire, and I'm just going to spiral into more casting news, which I don't know if we've talked about so far, but all good news, obviously, because they're redoing the Haunted Mansion movie.
No.
Disney is, because they're like, time to do that. And we got the casting of Tiffany Haddish and Lakeith Stanfield. So just chew on that a little bit. It's gonna be good.
Boo. Boo
And on
to you,
that note-
sir.
Tiffany and Lakeith in that Haunted Mansion.
Ugh,
So dumb.
so bad.
So bad.
Okay. But let's be fair. Is it gonna be worse?
I keep saying that about movies, and I was like, Mortal Kombat, it can't be worse than the 90s one. Or Fantastic Four.
Hold my beer.
Fantastic Four, there's nowhere to go but
Oh, my
up.
beer.
And they made one of the worst superhero movies of all time.
True.
Yeah. All right,
So
fellas.
yeah, you can get worse if you
Yeah,
challenge
that
yourself
Mortal
enough.
Kombat one, I feel like you might be able to debate, maybe, but that Fantastic Four one is pretty much like a pretty heavy serve and spike on that. Yeah. All right. Thanks for staying up a little late. I'm sorry I missed the whole tail end of that Suicide Squad thing, but I think I got out all I needed to say about it.
Yeah. That's all right. We're all awesome. We have any other closing thoughts? Because we're at 2 hours and like 15 minutes.
Yeah, hopefully next time I'll be able to get this background in focus. I'm not entirely sure what's going on.
That whole blank wall in focus.
Into the void.
Oh my goodness. My hand is pretty dope. But no,
right.
I'm good.
All right, guys. You guys have anything? Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I'm really close to that.
No, well, if we, I didn't know if you were about to plug it for next week. We are going to be doing Candyman.
Candyman. Yes, next week is Candyman.
Candyman.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching and listening. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google, I believe Spotify. I want to say Spotify. Yeah, if you don't have time to watch us, you can definitely listen to us on the go or whatever. But yes, we can catch us at YouTube as well. But until next week, this meeting is adjourned. Deuces.